Woodland Hills Metropolitan District Regular Board meeting for Thursday, September 23rd, 2021 is now in session, and we are running behind. It is 5:53. Or 5:48, sorry. All right, item 2 be roll call.
John Martin here.
Stacy Popovich here.
Troy Stinson present.
Neil Erickson here.
All right, Neil's here by phone. Sherry won't be here tonight. We do have a quorum. We have 3 present in person. All right. We're now gonna go to item 3. I apologize for the folks that are here. Hopefully we don't go too long. But we're going to, it's for executive session for personnel matters, under CRS 246401F1, and it's namely contracts. And I will explain some of the changes that have taken place over the last month in the district once we come back out of executive session, for everybody watching at home and everybody present. So I'll motion we enter executive session.
Second.
With motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. We're now being executive session. Are you good? All right, we're on item 4, which is President's welcoming remarks and rules of conduct. And as I stated before, first of all, welcome. This is the fullest this room's been in.
That's because I directed my water rovers class.
Nice.
That's how many for water rovers.
So, I've received several questions, folks wanting to know what's been going on over the last month. As we stated at the last meeting, we have removed the position of general manager from the district. We had a general manager in this district years ago, and I think a lot of people remember Mr. Cosolino, and that didn't work. When we took office, we brought in a general manager again to give it another shot. We brought the water director, water manager, I think that's what Mr. Jacobson was, into that position as general manager. We hired a very young admin director at that point. We have given that, I think it's been 3 years now, and it wasn't working. It's a bottleneck at the top of the district, caused a lot of contention and issues with information flow, contract flow, things being recorded, information getting back to the board, decisions being made without board approval, behind the board's back. So we as a board went back and took a look at the original service plan. This district was founded on that service plan, which called for 3 enterprise directors. We are actually exempt from Tabor based on the enterprise exemption, which splits up our funds and things between the 3 separate enterprises. Those enterprises being water, wastewater, and Parks and Rec are our 3 enterprises here. So with that, moving back to what our founding document demands, we got rid of the bottleneck at the top of the district. This is a unique district in the fact that this district is one of only, and I believe it's 9, I may be wrong on the exact number in the state, that is a strictly fee-based district, as far as when it comes to special districts in the state, which is a unique thing because most of them have mill levies or different types of levies on them. And don't take that the wrong way, we're not looking at any mill levies or anything, so don't anybody get excited and spread rumors. We are simply trying to make things flow more efficient and more effective for the community. What we've seen over the last few years is we've seen, and we've talked about this before, unequal pay raises to folks, and different things that have been applied from those positions. And to do away with that, it needs to be more back to where it came from, to where it's a team environment, and there's checks and balances. and there's not that bottleneck where we have one individual solely making decisions on behalf of you all. We have, one, your elected officials that you elect, and those of you that are gonna run this next term, there is an election coming up again in May, for 3 seats, I believe.
Yes.
So, there are a lot of moving parts in the state right now, and I don't know how much folks in the community pay attention to state. The way our state's evolving right now, and the way the SDA is evolving, HR policies, we all know about how the economy's driving the increase in wages and the increase in equipment and maintenance costs. Shoot, we had to get 2 mowers because none of our all of our mowers have been broke down this summer. We had to reach out to a company in Alabama, and we basically got 2 mowers that were scheduled to be shipped to somebody else, diverted and shipped here for us, by contacting them in Alabama. Thank you, Chad. So, with that being said, now for those of you, the employees in the district, no, we're not looking to remove anybody else from the district. We just need to put things the way they should be. One, with the rising costs of everything, we have to be more conservative with how we spend money, how we spend our money. The unique part is all of us live here. We all pay the same bills you do. If we vote to raise your rates, we're voting to raise our own rates. And it's not something anybody takes lightly. You'll notice there's no budget on the agenda yet. We haven't scheduled a budget hearing. The budget for next year is still being worked. We will have a series of meetings and things coming up. They will probably be special meetings, and we'll schedule the hearing 30 days out. But we are looking at one, being more efficient. There are capital improvement items, and I think we're all well aware of what's taking place over in Cherokee with an RO plant having to be added over there. And I can tell you, and I will confirm it here tonight, that is going to be a state requirement under the EPA guidelines for an RO plant for our wastewater treatment facility. At a cost of somewhere probably between $17 and $20 million. And that's not us doing that, that's a state requirement. Now, so far, because we've stayed underneath our, I think 80% of our capacity in the wastewater treatment facility, we have been able to avoid that, but we have been operating on a extension on our permit. Our new permit has not been issued for 2 years now because we're waiting on the EPA regulations to come out. So it will happen, it's just a matter of when. So in our efforts right now, and what we've been discussing, and this last election was fantastic. We have a very good board of directors that is digging into this stuff. We have split the board up into committees. So I will tell you the new organizational structure at the top of the district will be, we will have an enterprise director for water, an enterprise director for wastewater, enterprise director for Parks and Rec. We will have what we are going to vote on later as a comptroller in that position that used to be an admin director. We have no documentation designating that we have an administration director in this district, other than the last bond refinance document. Our service plan and bylaws do not show a position of admin director in this district. So the focus of that comptroller position is going to be accounting and the financing piece of the district, to keep us on task, to keep our enterprise directors on task, to make sure that we are using the funds and the fees that are collected by this district in the most efficient and effective way to get the most out of those funds going forward. We are looking at grant opportunities to fund some of these capital improvement projects. There is a very large pot of money through the
ARPA.
Through the ARPA funds. The state is sitting on a large pot of money right now that has been dispensed to the counties. We have been engaged in conversations with the county about getting some of those funds to fund some of our larger projects in the $2 million range. Pump stations that are 20 to 25 years old now that need to be replaced. We do have one that is on life support, that needs to be replaced. So far, in the last 3.5 years, we have managed to replace the majority of our infrastructure out here, through capital improvement projects. But looking down the road, I would probably guesstimate in the next 5 to 7 years, when our new permit comes down from the state under this current administration, we are going to see a requirement that we will have to meet the RO plant addition to our wastewater treatment facility in a 5 to 7 year time frame. This is something that nobody's looking forward to, but those of you, I see a lot of folks that look like they've lived here in the community for a long time. Fran's lived here for a long time. I've lived here since 2009, which I don't consider a long time, but you know how big Falcon has gotten, and you know how big Falcon is going to get. It's not just Falcon. I was out in Elcott earlier today, and another new housing addition's already being pipe laid out there. The new lots out off of Judge Orr, the new places coming in out here off of northeast of us. Meridian's looking to add 500 more homes over there. This is where they've designated to build here. El Paso County's quickly become one of the largest population centers in the state, if not the largest population center in the state right now, as far as county goes. So with all that being said, I am glad to see many of you here tonight. I'm appreciative that you are here, and that you care enough to come here and voice your opinion and talk to us. When I got elected in 2018, made some changes. We make this more of a group discussion as we go through the board meeting and things. I felt it was necessary so that we could get your input and opinions on the decisions we made. Ultimately, the decisions this board makes are decisions that you all have an input in, whether it's from an email, a phone call, even some staff members sometimes will email and ask questions. I try to answer everybody. But when you don't see us out at community events and stuff, please understand it's not because we don't want to be there, it's because everybody up here does have another full-time job, and this is a full-time job on top of that. But it's one that comes with great benefit when we can see things like the new gymnasium and weight room being built. When we can see things like the disc golf course and bringing in revenue from having, I think they've got professional tournaments scheduled over there now. Several different things that park and rec piece was left to the side while water and wastewater was being improved. So trying to bring those three to an equal level for you all, the community members, and me and my family. My family uses the rec centers. I don't, but they do. But I appreciate the need to have something for everybody in the community. And if we don't, I expect the community member to email or call us and say, hey, why don't we have this? So that we can look at how we can finance that in next year or build that in. We have been quickly paying down the debt of the district. As far as the district goes financially, we are in a very sound position financially. We have a very good rating with the banks, bondholders, bond council. But this is something that has been kicked around and tossed around over the last 6 to 8 months about the reorganization in the district. A lot of our technology in the district has fallen way behind. So bringing everything up to speed and trying to get everything running the way it needs to be run. I said something my first meeting sitting in this chair, and that was I'm a firm believer in leaving things a hell of a lot better than I found them, or than when I participated in them. I believe we are on target for that. But rest assured, I really think things are running very well. There are some bumps in the road with this transition and things, and I know some of our employees have been very on edge about what's gonna happen, if there was gonna be jobs cut away and things like that. Honestly, we couldn't get rid of anybody else if we wanted to. You can't find replacements. That's a joke. We have some of the best water and wastewater qualified people in the industry in this district. Most of them are highly certified through the state and federal entities. And it's just a matter of, we need to be as efficient as possible going forward right now until we see what the actual cost impact is gonna be of this RO plant, of the continued construction out here and development out here. The other thing is we've been in contact with the other districts as well. And that is a matter of, we are trying to work with other districts to clean up, whether it's IGAs, to make things better for everybody out here, really, is the ultimate goal. And not leave us on an island going forward. We are quickly becoming the smallest district out here, when it comes to house size. I think we're right at 2,700, somewhere right near 2,700 rooftops. Some of these districts, I mean, Meridian's gonna double us in size. The two new districts coming in to the northeast are gonna be bigger than us when they initially develop. Paintbrush is 30, what are they?
I'm not sure.
Final build out will be bigger than us. So, but this district has the benefit of, we own the regional wastewater plant. Woodman Hills is the owner of it. It is designated by the state as the regional wastewater facility, and always will be unless the district goes away. Which the only way that would happen is if we were annexed to the city. So,
Do we supply water to all of them, or do they have to have their
No.
own water?
we don't supply water to all those districts. Paintbrush, we basically sewer, that's our deal with
Okay,
paintbrush. Bent grass, once they're built out, they are part of Woodland Hills.
okay.
Falcon Highlands has their own water. They do have an emergency valve from us, but they have to show us that it's an emergency and one of our members has to go open the valve. So there are checks and balances in place. With our new water tank being built, the old water tank will go away, which is part of the tank farm, which in turn, there's an IGA part of that with Meridian Ranch. But we don't need that tank anymore. We have a larger, brand new one. But I think we're looking at relocating it, and using it out at Tamlin to store more water out there for summer use, emergencies and things. So, thank you all for being here. Does anybody else have any questions about my remarks or things I've said here before we move on? I think we were getting a sign-up sheet for public comment later on. Did any other board member have anything to say?
I do have one thing to add. The staff in our admin department have really stepped up and are trying to do everything they can with losing the two top people. And it's impressive to see how hard they're actually working to keep on top of everything that we need, that the district needs. And if you go in to pay your bill, tell them thanks for their hard work. They definitely deserve it. That's all
I didn't finish the organization, did I? So I talked about the 3 enterprise directors. So the way it's designed to work with the SDA and the special districts is each enterprise director will be supervised by 2 board members in concert. And then of course, each enterprise director will supervise their staff underneath them. The new comptroller will supervise the admin section. The admin section will be a support function of the 3 enterprises, which was how it was originally designed. We do have, JD, introduce yourself.
My name's J.D. Sugars. I'm the Warren C. for Whitman Hills, for any permission, resident of the intern water enterprise.
And Wally's not here, but, I can't ever remember Wally's last name.
Wally Eads.
Eves. Wally Eves has actually been the person that has been in charge of running the wastewater treatment facility. So Wally would be the interim, wastewater director right now, over there at the wastewater treatment facility. Because I couldn't even begin to tell you all the stuff that those guys do over there, from the lab to all the biology that goes on and things. It's very impressive how they operate over there, so. We trust these guys fully to run things until we are going to be advertising for the wastewater and water enterprise director. But these are our two lead operators in those individual enterprises, stepping in, and I'm assuming they're going to be applying for those positions as well. Their positions aren't going away. We felt as a board it's necessary to make these moves right now to make this more efficient. And that is part of what's causing the delay in the budget process for this next year's budget, is being able to make the district run a little leaner and hopefully a lot meaner going into next year. So I'll leave it at that.
You have a question, Troy?
Go ahead.
What do you think the timing is to get those positions solidified and in place?
January 1 is what the goal we've set to fill all those positions is January 1. I think there's an advertisement out on ZipRecruiter right now for the comptroller position. And we're working on the water and wastewater enterprise director positions. We have, in this hiring process, we have put forward actually I should say, the hiring committee, two-member hiring committee from the board has put together a very defined requirements for those positions based on our needs as a district, and that's based on the new HR guidelines, new federal laws that went into effect. So based on those, it's a very defined thing, and so we'll be posting them in a local, I think we're gonna put it on the website, hopefully by next week. I hope it's at the start of next week. And then, we're looking at being able to put it on Indeed or sometimes when you put them on the larger places, if you don't have very defined parameters, I've been on the board when we've done this search before, and getting 600 applications a day through Indeed to review is not fun, and nobody can have that much time to look through all those. So it's, we've kind of narrowed it in and made it very defined in the qualifications we're looking for in those positions, and we have started getting from ZipRecruiter applicants, which are extremely qualified applicants. So I think we'll be very happy with the end result of the transition. I'm hopeful, like any transition, there's always bumps before we get to the end of the road, but I think I'm confident in the abilities of board members and the staff in what they're doing right now to make this transition go smoothly. Any
Hey,
other?
Troy,
Yes, go ahead, Neil.
just as a comment for everyone else there, that comptroller position, we are looking for a full certified CPA. So, this is a job that the community will pay for, myself as a homeowner, but likewise, we're looking for somebody that is actually certified and understands full financials and the needs of the district as we move forward, especially in supporting the other three enterprises, so that those folks can make the right choices when it comes to the financial spending and the financial savings that need to be done in each one of those enterprises. So, that's it.
And our treasurer, Stacy, has been working tirelessly with the staff on this budget to really get it flushed out and designed. And we do have what's his title, David? Neil?
David's title, he's actually the CFO or the CEO of his own company. And he's
Who
So it
is,
goes out.
we've contracted a gentleman who comes in on Fridays to the district office right now and actually sifts through our finances to make us more efficient. He runs a whole team of accountants. So having him in there has been a great benefit in cleaning up the district's accounting and financials. So it's, and that's what we got presented at the start of the meeting, was 8 months of, here's what I've cleaned up so far. So, and he's been in there, I think, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not bad.
So, any other questions? All right, somebody wanna lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Go ahead. I'm waiting.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, item 5 will be approval of agenda.
All motion, we approve the agenda.
What's that?
You said he motioned to approve the agenda.
Oh,
I second that.
And a second by Neil. So I've got a motion by John and a second by Neil to approve the agenda.
Sorry, Stacy.
Any other discussion on it? All right, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Approval or disapproval of the board minutes. Thought there was a problem with those.
We fixed the ones from last month.
This is the fixed copy, instead of the one that came out in the evening.
No, the one
said
last
needed to be
time was,
fixed.
the last month was the one where we had issues from the month before, where we called it an inclusion, and it was
A petition
a petition.
for inclusion,
Correct, that was the issue.
and that's fixed.
Correct.
Okay, I'll motion to approve the board minutes for August 26th.
Second.
Any further discussion on it? All right, all in favor of approval of board minutes for August 26th?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item 7 will be the attorney's report. Fire away, Ted.
This has probably been the busiest month in all the years I've represented the district. The folks who left did or didn't do the jobs. And so we've had to pick up a lot of loose ends. And that's what we're in the middle of doing. Reflecting the stuff I've worked on this last month, we had initial discussions regarding an employee handbook. I worked with Neil and Stacy on it. We drafted job descriptions, variety of edits, until we came up with at least one description that we're comfortable with and that is currently in use. We went through provisions in the bylaws to make sure that the job descriptions were consistent with what the bylaws provided. Probably the bulk of the time that I spent this month was working on inclusion agreements, and I want to take a second to tell you what I'm talking about. If there's a piece of land where the owners of that land want that land to become the part of the district, they go through an inclusion process. And that process involves a petition where somebody says, I want to join the district. They ask to join. That is referred so that the board can decide to go ahead with what I'm gonna talk about next, or not go ahead. They can decide they don't wanna go ahead and it's over. Or they can decide that it will go ahead for review of an inclusion agreement. And that's a many-page document which basically defines the scope of the relationship of these folks who want to bring this land into the district. That inclusion agreement is 10, 20 pages long, depends on what we're dealing with. Within that inclusion agreement, there is a fee to be paid. It is $5,000 if the area to be brought in is less than 5 acres. It is a minimum of 5,000 plus 1,000 for all acreage over 5. So if you had 9 acres, it would be 9,000. If you have 3 acres, it's 5,000. So the minimum is 5,000. Okay. We've been working on 10 or 11 inclusion districts. It's been quite the process. In addition to paying the acquisition fee, or the inclusion fee, there can be a water deed wherein the property owners who are coming in essentially convey their water interest to the district, to Woodman, as an element of the process of coming in. Okay, so as they come in, they convey the water interest to the district. Or, if they don't have water to convey, they pay a rights acquisition fee. Paintbrush is an example of doing that.
Not paint
No,
grass,
paint
paint grass.
Grass.
Right, since I said it, I know I said it wrong. I'm brain dead from the volume of these. Then, after the inclusion agreement is agreed to by the developer, for example, it comes back to the district for its approval. And the district accepts or rejects the inclusion agreement, but generally they accept it because basically we drafted it in the first place. We send it out for review and comment, it comes back, and depending on what's happened with it, then we would approve it. Then there's a resolution from the board approving the inclusion. Then we file a motion with the court adopts an order approving the inclusion. That order is recorded, and that's the many steps that you go through. Pass these down if you would.
I have one.
You did. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. You can give me that rest back. I'm just hanging up. This is a report that we prepared for the board to reflect the status of the various elements that I just talked about, inclusion and all the different steps. And this is outlining where we are on those steps. It has been quite the effort.
I can answer you on bent grass on water deed or water rights acquisition fee paid. If you go to the 2019 Amendment 1,
The $1.3 million?
they paid 1.3 million for 200 SFEs. Then they have to pay water acquisition fees for each SFE above that. Plus, they had to leave 3 1/4 acre lots open for future well sites. If Woodman Hills decides, at Woodman Hills' cost, to drill wells there.
Let me use that as the example of where I want to go. We, as the lawyers, deal with these documents that I just went through, but we haven't dealt with the dollars. So we don't know if somebody paid the $1.3 million. We haven't been able to get from Woodman the records of the monies being paid. I'm positive that $1.3 million has been paid, but I don't have the document that supports it. I'm just closing the loop, if you will, and I agree with you, but I don't have the paper to support it. that, I have here, what did I figure out, $89,000 worth of, I can't determine it yet. Okay, 89,400. That's from this list that I have, okay? 5.57 acres, 5.4 acres, 5 acres, 8 acres, 9 acres, 3 acres. I'm almost positive the 57 has been paid, but I don't have the paper yet to support it, but I'm almost positive it's been paid. The 5.4, the 5, the 8, the 9, and the 3, I don't know. Because that financial information, the check may have gone to the office, but I don't have it. And I'm just being conservative to say unless I see it, it didn't exist. So that's part of what I've been working on is all of these inclusion agreements. It's been quite the task, but it's fun, so I enjoy doing it.
So you're doing it for free?
Yeah.
We didn't go that far. All right, so that's the inclusion material that I have worked on. Then in addition, I've worked on a proposed pool contract for Jed for the rec center. We're close to having an agreement regarding the pool, but that's an example of when there's a contract that comes in, they will usually send it to me, I'll review it, comment, I'll send it, in this case, I'm dealing directly with the pool construction guy, and we're going back and forth with the terms of the contract. It's a standard scenario, happens all the time. We're close to having an agreement on that right now, we're just I think, a minor piece left, but that's a typical example of what we deal with. So through the course of the month, I was in the midst of negotiating with the pool contractor for the construction of the work on the pool. It's not rebuilding the pool, it's
Relining.
relining the pool. All right, then I'm working my way down what I've done this month. Then I worked on budget discussions with Stacy and Neil. Then the rec building, there was a change in the pickleball court, so that got added onto the contract.
The fourth.
The fourth,
Oh, okay.
the fourth court.
I wasn't here last
Yeah.
night. I don't know if that was-
So there was amendment to the contract adding a fourth court on. Now, in addition to all of this inclusion material, I've been working on the Tamlin water line in several respects. One, we are attempting to get easements over sections of the line. We've determined there are 8 sections that we need easements for, so I've been negotiating with.
Guthrie. That's the
No, that's
Guthrie line.
Guthrie.
What did I say?
You said Tamlin.
Oh, I'm
Tamlin
sorry.
went back in operation, I believe, yesterday.
I'm brain dead.
So Guthrie line.
Yes, thank you. We've been negotiating with we've sent notice out to, there's 6 landowners of 8 sections. And you're gonna signature tomorrow, is it tomorrow? With
No,
the
he's not
easement?
back in town until Monday.
Okay. We've got an agreement with one of the fellows, and Troy will sign the agreement with him on Monday, and we will get that easement. That's one of 8. We have a second one who said he's interested in going forward, but it's not nailed down yet. So I'm in the midst of dealing with that. Then back to Tamlin, which I misstated. There is movement of a pipe into, and an increase in the size of the pipe, moving the pipe into a street right-of-way. So negotiations were going on among the developer, several developers, and now the city of Colorado Springs over moving the line into the easement. I think that's enough boredom. A lot of fun for me, but it's just trying to show you the range of stuff that we deal with, and this month was off the scale. It was a ton of fun, but it was off the scale. The big thing I need is the financials, so I can figure out whether we've been paid on these various inclusion agreements. I don't know the answer to that right now. We're still trying to figure that out. That's it. Or unless there are any questions. Anybody have any questions?
Do you need an assistant?
I have two of them.
He's got them, we hear from them routinely throughout the week. They're always sending us something.
I usually set the direction and then they go draft the document. That's what happens much of the time.
So it's a very busy time right now.
Enormously so. So, that's it.
Okay. Oh, good.
I can't even get the names right.
All right. We'll go to item 8. Nobody had any other questions? Board members, any other questions on the attorneys? Approval, disapproval of financials.
So you'll have 2 sets of financials in your packet. I thought Sydney was joining us, but
She had a flight. She's go out of town.
oh, okay. So there's 2 sets of financials because we did not approve the financials last month. So July and August are both in your packet, so it's a little extra thick. And then after, Dave has been sitting down with the, Park and Rec director and the 2 acting directors and have gone through their, budgets, each of the enterprise budgets, and have reallocated things. And so, you're going to see in a separate packet, the first 5 months of financials that have been revised. I don't think any of us got these prior to the meeting, so I would definitely voice that, we look at them and not approve them this evening, but the July and August are in there. That's what I have.
Were you happy with July and August now?
I am,
Well, I was good with July and August. These I didn't see before the meeting.
No.
yes.
We'll hold
So
on those.
if you have all had a minute to review July and August, I will make a motion to accept July and August financial statements.
Second.
Motion by Stacy and a second by John to approve July and August 2021 financials. Any other discussion? All in,
If I may, with the, I'll call it the top financial person having left, she's done an amazing job with the staff who are there to generate right on time these financial statements. It's really a hats off to her for dealing with a very difficult time and a difficult subject and pulling it off the way she has. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy.
Stacy, can I ask you, and I don't know if it's the time or not, but about that 70100 for Parks and Rec, August?
Yeah, I got the email.
Okay.
They should have been fixed.
I thought it was fixed.
Just asking a question.
I will get with Sydney
on the actual or projected?
on,
August, actual?
yeah, August actual.
So long story short, they added the mowers to that line. And I thought, I could be wrong, that's why I was asking the question, do the mowers go into lawn? Landscaping maintenance, or do they go into capital?
So Jed, we'll have to review that to see which way they'll classify
You got it.
based on the accounting codes. But as I see it, that's supposed to be actually classified to capital.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
We can review the minutes, cause it would be in there, cause we had to make a motion to
Okay.
buy them.
For your records, put them in make sure they're in capital right now.
Well, that's what I thought, it was
Yeah.
either that or the
Cause
landscape.
you have room in capital for the mowers. That
Yes.
was the whole reason
I think that's
So
why
we
we did it
approved.
now versus.
we,
when-
yes, because the price is not gonna be cheaper come January. I mean, you
And the
can't
grass
even-
isn't gonna get
Yeah.
cut without them.
We learned that this year, didn't we?
But it's all right the way that it's written in there right now, because that money's allocated, you can allocate that money in there, so.
Figured I'd ask.
I thought we had a contract with a company that did all the grass cutting.
So, here's the problem we have with the contracts with the companies. One, they have been inflating them on us. Two, just like the rec center contract for the cleaning, they're not getting it done. Which is, I'm sure he's gonna talk about it when we get to his report. Based on last month's meeting, we had a long laundry list brought in here of things that weren't getting done by the cleaning company. So, I believe he's made adjustments to that. And I think we have a new cleaning company now.
I don't wanna discuss that with you guys yet.
But I think we also discussed using some of our manpower over there
Yep.
as well to help out.
Okay.
Okay, back to the motion. I had a motion by Stacy to approve and a second by John. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Park and Rec report, item 9.
You want me to come up?
As long as you're not handing me that stack of paperwork, you can come up here.
All right, we, like Ted was saying, have a lot going on and it's all good stuff. So, bear with me, I have other things that were not included in my report to ask or talk about afterwards also. So, here we go. Maintenance, a lot of great things. CCW is, the pool is closed down for now. Like Ted mentioned, Troy, everyone, I think we're all in the loop on getting the lining redone. We're also, while we're talking about that, getting estimates on the cement and having that possibly redone down the road a little bit also. Starting to chip away and crack and that type of thing, so we're getting estimates on those. 2 new pool covers, both ripped, both the summer one, which is that bubble, the bubble solar covers. That one ripped really, really good. It's in the garbage at this point, so we have that coming in, and then we have a new winter one coming in that also ripped. That one's a special order just because of the the little tabs that tie it down for the winter, so it's kind of a specialized order on that one.
Chad, is there any warranty on those?
I will find out. It's a great question.
Sounds like they died before their time.
I have no idea when they were purchased.
Oh.
So it was before me, both of them, so I'm not sure how long they've lasted. I would imagine a number of years, but
And I have such a perception that you get on stuff right away that I thought it was brand new this summer.
no, just having to rip this summer on us, so. Stucco outside for CCW is completed. I think it looks absolutely awesome. If you get a chance on your way out, take a look.
Can we jump back to the pool really quick?
Yes, sir.
We need a new pump for
Pump,
this
that
pool.
estimate's supposed to be coming in. That company's a little slower. That's Front Range Aquatech.
Is that gonna be for 2021 or 2020?
That, the preliminary conversation, that is not a huge expense.
Okay.
That's something under $5,000. So
Okay.
that's why we never talked about it as far as next year's capital improvements and that type of thing.
What about the concrete for the deck?
Yeah.
Is it, we're looking at a 22,
When I briefly, I think I talked to you about it, give or take, about $35,000 was the first estimate. I met today with Cody, who did our basketball court at Balkan Park. He's much cheaper than many other companies, and that has held up really well. So he took measurements today, as well as measurements for, off path here, but he took measurements for the pavilion, for the base of the pavilion over for the concerts. So he's giving us estimates on both of those. My guess, and he didn't say anything, is gonna be a lot cheaper than $35,000 for this deck. The other
But in
options,
2022,
you know, again, these are all conversations
Okay.
for you guys to have with me, and, you know, if you wanna have an hour
No.
down the road, I'm open to it. The other option that he was gonna give us an estimate was just cutting out and removing the squares that he thought were really damaged, leaving the other ones for now, and then kind of slowly replacing ones as they kind of disintegrate on us. So it's another option.
no.
The only problem with that is you've got 50 different looking
Yep,
Yeah, I don't
So-
like that.
slabs of concrete.
that's a conversation, once that price comes in, you kind of go, okay, get
Okay.
it all done
Do
versus.
you have any
piecing
usage
together.
numbers for the pool this year?
I don't know off the top of my head, I'll be really honest with you, it was not used, this outdoor pool was not used very well this summer. So that also begs the conversation of how much money, the lining, I think, is a must. I don't know. if
I only
you
asked
checked
because
what
we
that
had this
is.
discussion last year about expanding
Yeah.
the size of the pool.
Yep,
And with having so much stuff wrong with it right now,
Is it a
for
good time?
repair, is it the time, does the cost equate out from repairs to expansion and that be included in that?
yep.
Is the usage enough to sustain, to,
From my seat, the usage doesn't warrant putting a lot of money into expanding this pool.
more repairs?
Now, everyone's got their own viewpoint and their own lens on that. I'm just telling you based on what we see at the indoor pool. This one doesn't get used, and now could COVID and that conversation play a piece in the last 2 summers? Absolutely. Could people look at the lining? I know we had an algae problem early on. Could all that play in? Absolutely.
Right.
But again, from my seat, I'm telling you, it didn't get a lot of use the last 2 summers.
I guess as part of that overall package, at least from my seat, I would like to see if we have the room out there to expand that pool. Even if it's not the pool itself, if we're
Mhm.
adding decking to it, if it's possible, and we know we have to put a bigger pump in there,
Yeah.
to put some type of splash pad off the side, something for younger kids. Just some other options that we can weigh cost of that versus just simple repairs. If we're gonna sink that much money into repairs, then it's gonna be equatable to do the addition or right now, then it might be best suited going forward to
I'll
look at
be
the.
devil's advocate for 1 second, and I think we ran into this with the new build over at RCE.
Yeah,
And I don't know this, so I'm kind of throwing it out as
you're right.
if we increase the pool or we add a splash pad, does the county then make us add parking spots? And if that's the case, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea where they would go. There's room to expand your pool, there's room to expand your deck, there's room to put a splash pad. That's all fine. If the county then made you add X amount of spots like we ran into over at the other one, I'm not sure. I guess we'd have to kind of revisit that part of the conversation, you know, then do you take I'm just talking out loud, do you take the playground and then move that to a different location here? And then open up a few more spots over where the playground is, do you, you're kind of landlocked here, you got houses, you got the main road, and so that's just something to chew on.
And I'm just throwing it out there, I'm just
Yeah,
trying
no,
to,
I get
I
it.
mean, we're trying to work with what we got.
Yep,
And that's what we got.
yep,
So how best can we utilize it or
I'll look into it.
advance it? I mean, really,
Yep.
long-term, that's my only question.
Cool, I'll,
No, we were gonna get to the rest of that, because I was gonna talk to you about lighting out there as well.
okay.
I've noticed there are a lot of kids out here
Mhm.
recently and stuff, and they're not being bad, they're actually using the volleyball court, the different stuff out here, but I've started seeing just a lot of cars parked in a circle with headlights out there.
Yep.
And I was like, why don't we have lighting out here?
And then it's just not working, or the bulbs are out, or, yeah, no, there's something, I know it's hard to manage or kind of monitor which bulbs are out and that type of thing, I'm not making excuses. We do twice a year where our head maintenance guy comes at night and makes a run and makes notes. It's kind of intertwined in my conversation with security cameras that we're pricing out.
Okay.
So if you
Fair
can kind of
enough.
hold that for
Yeah, just
10
something
minutes and then
I
we'll
just
get to
wanted
it.
to-
No, if I don't know about it, I can't fix it. So
Right.
if there's lights out or we need more, let's do it.
And I would've forgot all about it until I looked out the window. It's like, there's not a light between here and Meridian.
So, I'll look into the splash pad or expanding deck or other options that we may have for the pool while we're renovating some stuff as is. We're having some trees transplanted over at Balkan Park. The rationale behind that is we have the pickleball courts going in, which is chewing up a good chunk of that field. So in order to compensate for that or get some field back, we're taking along that fence line, all those trees, Save a Tree is the company that we're using. They're transplanting those to some spots where we have dead trees, which is throughout the community, unfortunately. And then filling in, I don't know if you guys know, but down by that fence line, there's kind of a gully. And we're gonna fill in, we've used a lot of the dirt that was from the pickleball area, the excavating, and already filled in a good chunk of it. And that'll get us, give or take, about 15 to 20 extra feet from where that gully starts and that tree line over to the fence line to add some space. I know your kids play and you have a vision of what I'm talking about. So I think that'll be fantastic for us. They sprayed the watering agent, so I wanted to talk about that. I can't remember if someone mentioned it last board meeting or not, or I think emails we've talked
I
about.
read
but,
your sheet last meeting. I think.
Okay. Long story short is the same company recommended a watering agent to help conserve water. I know that's a huge field and we're getting a lot of use now between some rentals and our own stuff and just, you know, my crazy ideas and all
Talk
that
about a
stuff.
parking problem. I
It's-
drove around it
yeah.
the other night just to see how the pickleball stuff was going.
I know.
And
It's a
that
different-
place was just all the way around that park.
Which is what I would refer to as a good problem. That
Yes, it
means-
is.
Yes.
That
It's
means
being
it's
utilized.
fantastic, we're getting use, it's fantastic, we're getting participation, and yet, that's the negative that comes with it, there's just not a spot, and so,
There's nowhere to build any, so.
No, and I mean, I honestly driving around in the evenings when I come home from work, I'm like, man, it's freaking active out
yes,
here.
and I think that's what we
It's
want.
very active.
Like I said, it's a good problem, it's a problem, I get it, but we'll
Get
take
there
we'll
early.
take a good problem versus a bad one.
Get there early.
Yes.
Wait till pickleball
We're
starts.
teaching punctuality in our department. So with that watering agent, we wanted to compare last year's use from August 1st to September 15th compared to this year's use when we sprayed August, it wasn't exactly August 1st, I think it was August 10th or 12th, but I'll double check that date, but I wanted to compare apples to apples. So I have that with us, and the positive is, sorry, bear with me with
I'm glad you didn't give us.
my
a-
stack here.
I know.
Last year, August 1st to September 15th, 507,600 gallons used. This year with the watering agent, and I'm gonna get to the second piece to this, is 329,500 gallons used, so a big save. And then the question has to be, did the lawn stay? And the lawn stayed, so it shows that the watering agent is positive. It helps conserve water, and yet we still have a nice plush field.
I think you just
Now-
killed your AstroTurf idea.
I get, that's why I wanted to try this.
Good
It
job, Jen.
wasn't- Side note, that wasn't my idea. but
It saved
we
us-
won't talk about that.
And saved the
but
community
I-
a ton of money.
Yes, so the good thing is you can conserve water, you can save money, and still have a plush field. Right now, if you looked at the field, it is starting to brown, we have the water turned off, and the reason being is because the water has to be off for the construction. So if you looked at it now, you'd say, Jen's lying to us, but when we turned it off right before construction, it was plush and it helped.
No,
So-
we're gonna come into colder nights, freezing temperatures here in the next
Yeah,
few weeks.
so I think we're heading there. So that was a really cool thing to know and learn. So something to think about next spring. They suggest April, May, spray it again, and then if you want to do it one other time, the cost on that, if you remember, was $751. So even if you did it twice, you're saving a ton of money.
Even if we
throughout
did
the
it
summer.
twice a year for 20 years,
Yeah,
it's cheaper than
so
AstroTurf.
yes.
Sure
I
is.
get it, I know you want to do it AstroTurf. So that was a great thing for our maintenance, I know mine is dragging on here. Field kept, I talked about that. Okay. Any questions on maintenance, landscaping? As you said earlier, the mowers came in, the guys absolutely love them, powerful, efficient, fast. John volunteered to jump on.
What do we do with the
I
old,
need
help
one
out.
just to turn one direction.
Yes, I remember that, we ordered that one.
what do we do with the old ones? Were they,
So one was really shot, and we sold it.
one of them belonged to Falcon Highlands?
No, that's a different one completely. And the other one we have is a backup.
Okay.
So we technically have three, two brand new and one 2016, 2017, somewhere in that
And
range.
have you put the replacement of the other one into capital for either next year or the year after? So we start setting some money back for it.
No, I did not. Thought, okay.
There you go.
Okay. RC addition,
Can I,
yep, sorry.
when do you anticipate having all the sprinklers turned off, blown out, and everything mowed for the last time of the year?
Within the next 2 weeks, we'll be done with all of that.
Okay.
And I know there was a question earlier about the landscaping company or the maintenance company. That was before I came up, so I'm not exactly sure what that storyline is. Right now, it's our own maintenance guys. Landscaping, we try to hire, that was part of our dilemma this year, try to hire some summer help to help with the weed whacking and all that type of stuff. And that was part of our whole big thing we did get behind this year because we couldn't hire.
Right,
We were trying,
On
but we just
besides,
didn't have.
yeah.
it. So,
One, we couldn't hire, and two, everybody was so booked out and short manpower across
Yeah,
the
it was
region
just-
that we couldn't get companies to come out here to meet the obligation. It was,
and we're not trying to deflect, I'm not trying to deflect, it's just, it was kind of a perfect storm with everything going on.
we volunteered to come out and do it.
as long as we can ride the new mower.
Only the new one.
Yeah.
So,
See you tomorrow.
Hey, Jim, I came out and mowed for you.
He did, we have to give,
Neil did.
Neil, props, he did come out and spent a few hours out there mowing and,
Oh, that's where
I
it's
think
all
we tried to
torn
give him
up
the
now?
worst
Yeah.
message, so we would vote for the new one.
That's where the,
The worst
that,
mower.
that's why they had to transplant trees.
So,
You're not supposed to mow those?
No, you're supposed to mow around them, Neil.
so we do thank you for those few hours. RC edition, you guys have seen some pictures from both myself and Elliot, who sends some updates from Hammers. Roofing is done, gutters are done, downspouts are done. The framing inside is mostly done at this point. Again, I wrote this a week ago. The drainage work, they're still working on it. They have completed the side by where we have our concerts. They thought they were done. We had a big rainstorm, there was a huge lake. We had a debate about how to fix all of that. I actually won a burger because I bet with the foreman over there, Anthony. And he thought they had leveled it out and fixed it, and then we had another rainstorm and it puddled up again on us. And long story short, they think they have that solved now.
So I was gonna talk to you about that. I hadn't been out there yet the last few days, but over the weekend I drove by there. And my concern was the drainage running into those backyards and those houses
So that was what the
there.
complaint was. So it was laking up on us.
Yes.
And then it was going over that berm, because the berm wasn't high enough. They claim, and again, I guess we'll have to wait until we get a rain, that the berm they've built up, and they've kind of redone the grading so that it kind of goes down towards the end of that new parking lot and then out in the parking lot. So again, time will tell. They think they finally fixed it. But now there's conversation on the other side, and again, they're working on that with the engineers. They think they're gonna have the same problem in a huge lake in the back of our building there, and they're trying to figure out where they can divert that water. So they're working on that. I'll keep you updated on that. But if you go inside, electric is, I would say, about halfway done. The HVAC is mostly done. The fire suppression system is mostly done. They really are starting to move along, which is kind of fun to just go in there daily and check things out. So we invite everyone to get a hard hat and come on in and check it out.
Completion date?
as you guys know, that was a point of contention or an issue, and long story short, I think we all know at this point, based on that last change order and contract, and November 12th
November 12th.
is what they're saying, and we're keeping our fingers crossed and knocking on wood and hoping that that's true. We had a little bit of a hiccup this morning, not related to hammers. Got an email relating to the rubber flooring for the weight room. Company that they normally go through says they don't have stuff in stock and won't get it to us until 2022. And so the conversation today via email was find us another company, and you know, the goal is November 12th, see what you can do, and blah, blah, blah. So they threw two different options at us. One company, they can get it. The pricing would be roughly the same. He's double checking that for us. And the goal would still be the 12th, but he's not 100% sure. He was reaching out to that company. The other option, he already talked to this second company. They can get it to us and install it sooner, but it's twice the price. So I wanted to throw that at you guys and see his vote is no, and yours is no, and I'm just the messenger on this, but, or we can just kind of wait to see where this conversation goes over the next few days. So,
This falls on them. Their
Well-
deadline is November 12th.
well, this isn't Hammers. So this is Foundation Fitness, who we do our leasing for all of our equipment.
Is this something
and
that
we're
we
buying the
did
floor.
or that Hammers did?
This has nothing to do with
Okay,
Hammers.
okay.
This is something, because Hammers wasn't doing the rubber flooring, we had hired the company who did the rubber flooring downstairs to do, because they were also doing the lease for all the weight equipment, the new stuff over there. So we went with them. Obviously, they supply that stuff, and now the company they use is saying.
So are
it's
we
gonna be the-
holding
so
on delivery of equipment until they sign the building
I
over
think
to us?
it doesn't make sense to have
Because
this
I
stuff
know we have the
delivered.
contract with them, I didn't know if they
Yeah.
already scheduled a delivery of that equipment.
No,
Okay.
they're waiting for the floor and most construction of the hammers to be done. So it is a puzzle, right? I mean, we can kind of see and then, but I'll keep you guys updated,
The
obviously.
sealing of the floor, did they do it?
Say that
The
again?
cracks, did they seal the cracks?
Yes, they did,
Okay.
yes. I think I forgot to take pictures of that. There's no insulation. You had me all nervous. I'm walking around, anyway. There's no insulation.
Last question on that, is November 12th the day they plan to turn it over
Hand us the keys.
to the flooring company so they can do the basketball
So we
court?
just had that conversation today with the foreman. The moment they have their HVAC connected and running, and our temperature, we set it to whatever we want, and they have that last roll-up door in, that's when the flooring can be delivered and start acclimating to our temperature. So it's ready to go, and the moment they're done with the gym side, sports court comes in and starts laying it.
So when are they anticipating closing the door, turning on the heat, and putting the wood?
I can
Inside.
find out for you, but I do
Don't
not
know?
know.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Prior to November 12th.
Yes, before noon.
Well, hope so.
Yep. So it is definitely a puzzle, but we are staying on them. Any other questions about the addition? Activities, they're all going well. Last month we did a pottery class for the first time. We sold out on that. Mommy and me cooking, kids cooking, painting classes, fall soccer league, disc golf league. Everything has been going really well, so we can't complain about our activities. We had our last concert. I know some of the audience was there. We had a decent turnout, not what we've normally gotten, but I don't know if there was other activities going on that day or whatever, but
I have a question, Seth,
yes.
regarding insurance. Do you need to identify to the insurance company the various activities that you're doing?
They know about our cooking.
I'm just saying in general, it should be a blanket coverage which covers everything. I had to deal with a horrendous case some years ago
Okay.
where they hadn't defined an activity during the lunch hour. There was a terrible, this is racing, there was a terrible accident, and the insurance company declined coverage because they hadn't told the insurance company what they were doing. So I'm
Okay.
Just asking here,
I've
because you
reached
just
out.
threw this laundry list of activities, just wanna make sure they're all
No,
covered.
no, that's a great question. I know certain things we've reached out to them, like the baking and cooking before we put
Okay,
the oven in, and that was all covered, and things like, which I guess we'll talk about now, the, starting blocks that were donated to us by School Mines. So we have those, and we're getting estimates to put those in, and that was one of the things I reached out to our insurance company about, like, are we
Okay.
still covered? You know, if we run swim meets, if these swim teams use these during practices, then yes, we are. So that's all in email, we have those. So I have reached out for certain things, but not everything, if that's.
you should try to get general coverage,
Okay,
so it's not specific to any activity, it just covers everything that we do.
you got it.
And that kind of coverage is available.
Now,
Or said the other way around,
It's more of a you guys thing than, I mean, I don't mind
No,
calling.
I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive that is our
Okay.
policy right now, it's
Okay.
general coverage.
I'll double check with them.
yeah, please.
I'll send her an email.
Said the reverse, is there any restrictions, is there anything they don't cover?
Okay.
No,
Just
because
ask them
we-
that question.
We
I
just
do know
asked,
that when we reached out for segways, we were talking about segways, that was not covered.
Okay, we covered that.
but there was
They're
no
always
change.
thinking, they're always thinking.
Even if we limited the amount of lifeguards we had or didn't have lifeguards at all, it was
Yeah.
no change to our insurance, so.
Yeah, we did reach out to them.
I'm not talking about change in
Yeah.
cost, I'm talking about coverage.
No, there was no change to our coverage.
Okay,
Canoes are covered.
Kayaks are,
Kayaks
are
yes,
covered.
that, scuba, we are, we're.
Neil on a lawnmower is covered?
Oh, gosh.
That might be
That's
possible.
It doesn't hurt to double check that stuff, so I'll reach out. Finish up, Concert Park went well, band had backed out, we ended up finding a different one, I thought they were really nice. They were kind of a bluegrass country type band, and I thought it went well. Balcony bathroom, we have had a hiccup, you guys are well aware that we kinda got that weird, hey, by the way, there's a 30% increase.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Well,
No, I mean, I haven't seen somebody do that to,
Okay, so
Okay.
I personally, not that it's just me making decisions, kinda got a little irritated with that, and so we've reached out to, I can give you a list here, I think it's 6 different companies, some are just, they're flat out honest, they're just too busy, to pick up a small project like this, or at least in their eyes. I've met with Wells and West, the ball is rolling for them to, I was very clear that our attorney doesn't like change orders, and that we as a whole don't wanna be told, hey, by the way, the upcharge is, after we assume the upcharges are already in the initial price. And they kinda laughed and said, okay, so they're supposed to get that to us by the end of October.
you don't have to beat around the bush on it. So, just an explanation on what we're talking about. So, we had bids on building a permanent a bathroom out at Falcon Park. You get such use out there that having the porta-john out there, it just makes sense to put a permanent structured bathroom out there. Plumb it in, everything. We got bids on it. One bid was a very good bid, and we were considering accepting it. We ended up, there's an architecture feature in there that you pay for, so we agreed to the architecture piece. As soon as they found out we were agreeing to the architecture piece, just the architecture piece, they sent us a secondary contract, basically saying, this is the new bid with 30% increase.
Which then brought that entire bid right back up to our first bid with a
Yeah.
different company, and so we kind of thought, okay, they're both around 200,000, let's kind of throw this back out and look for,
Can I add a footnote?
absolutely.
I forgot, that's one of the other things I worked on this month.
For free.
American Institute of Architects has a series of kinds of contracts that are available. There's one called a fixed bid, which is what we want and not what we got. There's another, is cost plus with no limit, which is what we got. The 30% number, to Jed's credit, was buried in about page 12, when you were going blind from reading the print that, was about this big, and Jed caught it. He caught the 30% kicker in there, because if they'd signed it, it would have allowed for a 30% premium, so he did a great job catching that 30% position. But there is the other contract, and I said, this contract is not okay at all, don't amend it, it's done. And if you wanna use an AIA contract, they have another one for fixed bid, which is what you can use. So that's kind of the saga, I forgot about that, among all the other stuff. But it's to Jed's credit to find that 30% buried in the middle of that document. And it was even in smaller type.
Which sent us into a
Yeah.
tailspin when he emailed us saying I just got the contract and there's a 30% kicker in there, and I was like, no.
And so I think just on principle, just the way it was all done, I think, at least from my lens,
Yeah,
and my
goodbye.
lens only, I think we move on to another company and start the process over again. So, we have with Wells and West, and we'll see where this one goes. Sorry, lost my track here. Pickleball courts, so we've kind of mentioned, the construction has started. Still doing some dirt work. Their expected time is mid-October to be done. Although by adding that fourth court and delaying things, I think I've sent this out in email, but if not, the lines will be painted, but it won't be sealed because of the time of year. And then they'll come back in the spring when the weather's nice and seal it. But they will. And then, so that's pickleball courts. We've gotten a lot of questions about that. A lot of people are excited, at least the conversations we've had. Upcoming events, activities, big one, Fall Festival, October 2nd. We have some really, really cool stuff planned, so bring the kids, the grandkids. We have everything from food trucks to vendors to pony rides to petting zoos, you name it, so.
Did you know
And
that
a
your,
chili cook-off that we
yeah,
expect to.
did you know that your signs don't have a date?
Yes, we did that on purpose.
You did?
You can't reuse them. So we've learned the hard way, you can't reuse those signs. So we put the website, go to the website and have it.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then all our e-blasts and everything else.
Good answer.
I
Good
didn't.
answer.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I like them all, but I have answers, so,
You thought you were gonna stump him.
yeah. You invited her.
I've never met this lady before. I have no idea who brought her
So,
here.
we're excited about it, and we expect y'all to be there. We have, yes?
A suggestion I would recommend on those signs, just put the website address on it.
Say that again?
What?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Website's on it,
Yep,
right Judy?
yes,
Website's on it.
yes, it's on there. I went there.
We have kayaking coming up for the first time, we're excited about that. My goal is if that takes off and that's well attended, purchase our own instead of having this gentleman bring his own, and then we can kind of grow it from there, so I'm kind of excited about that.
How's the pool sharing going? We got a lot of pool activities.
So we do, and I think from, again, our seat, that we've done a really good job. And again, I don't think you're gonna please 100% of everybody, but I think we've done a really good job of always leaving a portion of that pool, 2 lanes to be exact, and then you rent out 4 to the, well, you've been there in the afternoon, so I think you can talk to this. 4 for the swim team, or 4 for, you put your divider and you have 4 for the kayaking and still keep a portion of that big pool open for the public. And then obviously you still have the kiddie pool for everybody. So I think we've done a pretty good job balancing that.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem overly crowded. I've been there during like swim meet type things while I'm learning to, walk. And it seems to be fine. It's actually nice to see a lot of activity in it, because
There's
typically
energy in the building, which
Right.
is a good thing.
because normally I would be in a swim class, which is in the morning when it's quieter.
Mhm.
Afternoons are busier.
So,
Fran, what are you
balancing it out
hearing?
Pretty good.
Just a question. I know it was brought up once before. was
No,
just
and I
kinda
get it,
curious.
and there's a.
We're getting a lot of pool use.
Is it all positive?
Oh, yes.
Everybody's happy?
Yeah, yes, and now that you brought it up, some of them are complaining like the bathrooms, you know that they need to be redone, they're bad. But other than that, the pool use you are getting, oh my God, yes.
Good.
You go there on a Saturday or Sunday, I made a mistake taking my niece. I knew on Sunday it opened up at noon, I'll never do that again.
It's
Which again, I say, that's a really good problem.
It's busy on the weekends.
Yes, it is.
Um,
We're gonna gonna need those extra parking spaces, aren't we?
No,
That would be fantastic.
wrong answer. Wrong answer on that one.
You walked into that one. We are starting an Italian cooking class for adults. We already sold out on that first one. So we're gonna obviously continue that. We have
When are they
baking classes
serving that?
coming. Say
When
again?
are they serving that food?
Fettuccine.
You would have to show up to find out. Yeah, they're cooking
I think
fettuccine.
the board should.
I told him
see
I had to be
this.
cannolis, but he didn't listen to me. So, anyway, we're excited about just trying different things. We continue with the Krav Maga self-defense classes, which are well attended. And then we are starting some new stuff, the fall break for Falcon 49, some mini camps. So we're gonna try that this year also. Rentals, you know, kind of piggybacking on what you just said, since we're getting used and we are getting rentals galore. Some overlap, so we have to turn them back. But again, I think I know I'm repetitive here, but I think it's a good problem that people are reaching out between Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. We have a youth football team that's now renting Horseshoe Park. We have Pride that's reaching out, although I don't think we have room for them, Pride Soccer. Our own sports stuff, and it just kind of continues to grow, which I think is a good thing. I-9 Sports continues. Yeah, so I think it's good, and I think we've done a really good job of balancing it all out between community and getting some revenue stream from it. So, and again, if you see something different, let me know. Land. I think the easement was signed last board meeting. It was delivered by Troy.
Talking about Falcon Fire?
Yes. To the chief,
Chief Harwood?
and the
Yeah.
response,
Aren't we waiting to hear back from him?
just got a response on Tuesday
Huh.
on basically, and you guys can have this, it basically says that, they have another option with a sheriff's department, or El Paso County Police, I forget, it's in the email. That they've kind of proposed making a substation there on that piece of land. So their board is meeting at the end of October, which is what it says, and kind of dissecting the two opportunities and seeing which one they want to give the land to.
Which was
So-
that meeting on Tuesday?
This was the Tuesday night meeting. I kind of got back briefed on it, for
Okay.
the folks that attended. But yes, that is the proposition, and that is probably the best location here in Falcon right now to put a El Paso County Sheriff's Office substation, which is very much needed out here. At least as far as my personal opinion on it is that if the sheriff's office and the county wants that piece, the easement's fine, we already have the easement agreement. We can do whatever we need to do on, we still have Horseshoe Park and things that we're looking at to get the deeds transferred back over to us
Yep.
from the county, so we have opportunities there. But my opinion would be is that we let the county have first crack, and I would actually, if you wanna head that up, and you talk to them about that email, would propose a horse trade with the county,
Okay?
is we get the deeds back to Horseshoe Park and the other piece out here. And we will quit pursuing that piece next to the fire department and let the sheriff's office have it.
And the good news is you have the easement. It's completed and recorded.
Then everybody will be happy, works for the community, works for us,
Okay.
works for the sheriff's office. I understand that they do have plans ready for that substation, so.
Yes. Fantastic, I'll reach out. So you don't want my mini golf course?
I was gonna say, there goes your mini golf.
I was gonna say, yes.
So
That's
I wanted
gonna
to
be
go to the
so
mini golf
sad
course.
here in a sec.
So hang with me for a minute. That's a very small piece of land. The piece that the school district's not gonna use for the school and Horseshoe Park are larger pieces. And suit us better because they are more enclosed and controllable by Woodman Hills as opposed to being exposed to Stapleton and the traffic. And so I just think it's better with better parking at Horseshoe. It's just a lot better for us, I think.
Fantastic. Sorry, I'm kind of dragging on here. We're working on a mini disc golf course. we have our 18 holes already established and well-used and so on, and we are looking now into designing and building. And we started collecting kind of raw material from hammers as they leave, 2x4s and 4x4s, and we're just piling them up. Yeah, we are. We've talked to them, we're borrowing them forever.
Hang on, say
They
that
kind of use
again.
that stuff. So,
So
save
they
us
set
some
your
money.
bail yet?
So, we're saving money that way, that's how I'm looking at that. But I think that'll be a really, really cool addition for the kids, once we design and build that thing. We've talked to the two gentlemen who helped design, the initial 18 holes, from Pikes Peak Disc Golf Course, if I remember correctly, and they love the idea, so. Getting estimates on new security cameras, we have been kind of emailing about that. So that is new security cameras downstairs, outside here, and then at Balkan Park, which are definitely needed. We've seen an uptick in, obviously use, but also negative things like graffiti or littering and stuff like that. So, which then I have a follow-up question on that type of stuff. So it's good to get those estimates. The initial talk, we kind of budgeted, I believe it was 25,000 to upgrade all of that and get some really high-end stuff, especially for Balkan Park.
Hey, Jed,
Yes, sir?
in your defense, discussions that we've had about those camera systems, I think the community needs to know and understand that that has to do with not only just surrounding vandalism that's going on around the community, but we've had some vandalism occurring in our locations as well, so.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Meridian got hit way harder than we did. I think we've talked about it, and so I think it's a good time to start really looking into that. Piggybacking on that, I know a while back we were asked, we finally got the estimate from Ross Electric on a whole bunch of lighting out there. Sorry, it just came in this week. I know I mentioned it to John. I apologize, it's here somewhere, there we go. So I'm gonna let you guys have this. And that's the preliminary first estimate on lighting.
For Balkan alone?
For Balkan alone.
Okay.
Around the basketball courts and around the pickleball courts. And there's debate to have, right? There's pros and cons to lights or no lights. Lights bring more people, later hours, so you can have the debate of, do those neighbors really want that? Versus, hey, it's lit, we have cameras, we can kind of see if someone's acting like a fool there and that type of thing. And so it's just food for thought. Obviously, we don't need to make any rash decisions on that, but there's pros and cons for having lighting. And then obviously getting timers and what time they shut down and what time they turn on and those types of things. And that's all kind of intertwined in that conversation.
When we initially talked about lighting, it was just for the pickleball court.
Okay. And again, then you can scrap the piece for the basketball courts.
Well, I'm not saying we need to scrap it, I'm just saying that was part of the original discussion.
Yes, when we were talking about
Building
pickleball courts, yeah.
pickleball courts was to ensure that we had lighting,
Yep.
because people could be out there right now.
I'm enjoying absolutely,
pickleball courts.
Absolutely, and again,
But kids could
it
be out
depends your
enjoying the
lens,
basketball
right?
court too.
Yes, yes, and it depends your lens. Like, I think that's a fantastic thing from what my job is and where I sit. And yet, I guess if I was living right there on that park, and then, you're constantly hearing the dings or the baskets or the kids are playing loud music, which we do get that. Like I said, depends your lens. There's pros and cons no matter what. It is food for thought. You have at least a preliminary price of what it would be. So that's for you guys to kind of talk about, and whether we want to do it at a different meeting or now, or at a budget meeting or whatever it is.
No, I mean, I would like to see that added, or at least estimated into the budget for capital.
Okay, and there is still wiggle room there, not to keep adding things, but
You're running out of wiggle room.
But I,
Out.
Alright, I'm gonna say,
but as part of that, I would also like to see the, as far as the lighting it.
yeah,
out
we'll
here.
shut down, get some estimate for that, with the security cameras, absolutely.
And I think the other part was, we've been pushing for 3 years to get with MBEA about LED lighting for street lights out here, to see what the cost efficiency would be.
Okay, is that
compared
something you want me
to
to reach
our-
out to,
yeah.
or, okay?
I was under the understanding that, I don't know about our lighting, but I know the street lighting, if one of the old lights goes out, they automatically replace it with LED lighting.
That is my understanding as
But
well.
I don't know, I'm sure our parking lot lights are considered street lights.
So I know the
don't
new
about
lights
other
at
stuff.
RCE they're the LED.
And I understand that, but there are a lot of lights, generally it's dark in the morning
Okay.
when I leave for work and I drive through
Yep.
different areas of the neighborhood. And it
So
is,
do you know who you guys have contacted in the past
I
to
don't
get
know
that
who
ball
the
rolling?
last time it was tasked out was with Jerry, and I don't think we got an overall monetary
Put that on
response.
my list.
But I would definitely like to see what it would cost to get those replaced.
All right.
I mean,
You're
we're
talking
at,
about the entire community, yes?
yes.
Okay, I'll reach out
Not,
to them.
I mean, not only as a efficiency thing on our bill that we
Mhm.
pay every month to MVA, but also as a crime prevention, neighborhood watch type deal as well.
Makes sense.
Jed, I would only point out, this does not cover plans.
Okay,
As we saw with the
Like I said,
bathroom,
it's
you
just
know, you get
preliminary.
architect in addition to the other stuff, so
okay,
that cost is not in there.
Have you met our right hand?
no. Yeah, you had me all nervous about the insulation, and then I signed a contract that I know I didn't sign.
Oh, you didn't hear the conversation I had with him.
I mean, I got butterflies that day, I'm thinking, I know I didn't sign this thing.
Fear is good once in a while.
Ah, thank you.
Cause he's telling me I signed a 24-page contract, and I'm like, no, I signed a 4-page.
With all that said, then, a couple other things that were not on this list. This is from Geneva Capital. They are the ones doing our lease for the new equipment. This is their insurance. I'm gonna throw it at you, dissect it, whether you want them to insure that equipment. I thought I emailed it to you.
He did. I'm just saying, I had a question on it, and that was, does our, does our liability and pool insurance cover?
The leased equipment. I'm gonna add
It's
that
back to my same earlier question about what's covered.
I mean, the stuff downstairs that we had replaced, is that covered under liability and pool, or is that covered under the?
If I remember correctly, and I didn't print out the actual email, I thought in the email it said that we have them for insurance for downstairs. So if that's the case, I'm assuming I'm
And
gonna
is
ask the
that
question.
full replacement, is that, what's the maintenance agreement?
Yeah, and it was way before I came here, so I haven't ever
I
seen.
know there's a
any of those
maintenance
things.
piece to the
Yeah,
stuff
I know, like, we can
downstairs.
just call them,
Yeah,
within 48 hours, they've replaced something.
that was the
fixed it.
whole deal behind doing that, was because it would always be new equipment down there.
Yep.
We wouldn't have people working out on a 20-year-old treadmill.
I question, back to our question of a few, discussion a little while ago, whether this is needed.
I think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask that question.
It
to
may
our
well be
auto
that's
insurance
covered
company,
under our basic
And that's fine, then
insurance.
we can shred that and.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's part of the requirement for the maintenance agreement and stuff, that's one thing, but if that's just additional insurance and it's already covered by our company,
Yep.
Welcome to the meeting,
Should get
Judy.
some money.
unnecessary expense.
Okay, next thing, this is for our new build.
I just wrote that down, good on you.
Good people. This is 4 different options, and I know we've had dialogue, some of us, I know I've had dialogue with my colleagues about what we wanna do, homeowners who have come in and asked questions. So with the new build, right now, you have just your traditional key, right? And that's the way it has been set up. You have 4 different options in front of you that in the near future you have to make a decision on. One is just to keep that, and again, I tried to put set down what I could think of as far as pros and cons for each of these, plus some of the costs associated with each of these. I don't know if you have a copy in front of you or not, or maybe you don't care.
No, I just have.
So for the key, the concept would be as we unlock, as Stephanie gets here at 5:45 a.m. to unlock RCE, she walks over and unlocks the new build. When Craig locks up at 8:30, we go and lock up the new build. That's one concept. There's pros. Pros can be, we have a better monitor of what's going on and who's going in. We can minimize vandalism opportunities by not having it open late at night. We can minimize some non-member use, if that's our goal. But again, somebody is always present in RCE who's monitoring, walking back and forth and that type of thing. And then if the argument is, well, what about the weight room? You still have CCW as your 24/7 opportunity. So if we locked at 8:30 over there and someone's done at work at 8:30, they could still come over here and use the weight room at 9. That's some of that conversation. The negative is obviously it minimizes the hours that new build is open. The new fob system. So what we've run into is this fob system is obsolete, and you can't get a fob system over there, a magnet system, that matches the fobs that the community members already have. And they've been charged for their fobs. So you then talk about different dialogue from there. If you get a new magnet system at the new build, which is fairly expensive, you then also have to buy fobs, which then leads to different viewpoints and dialogue from there. Do you charge the community a second fee? Do you charge them just the cost of the fobs, which are $5 a pop? Do you not do it and do a trade-in system, which I think you mentioned?
Yes.
Right, so that you have, again, just different dialogue to kind of dissect and chew on. The negative is the magnet system is expensive up front, and then your fobs that you're going to either trade out, and we have 3,318 families that have a fob account, which means they can each have up to 2. So when you're buying fobs, and I'm minimizing it here, you're doing 3,318 times 5 to start. But if the families have 2, which many of them do, it's more than that. So again, that's a negative for how you look at it, okay. The good thing is, it's a 24-hour option, and I think that was the initial conversation years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, about having that maybe as a 24-hour option. You can save a few bucks on not having an alarm system, obviously, if it's a 24-hour system, because it's always gonna be open. So it would make no sense to purchase an alarm system. And the community can obviously have access to use both the basketball court and the weight room whenever they want, which can be a positive. If you look at it from a different lens, that could be a negative, right? You open it up on a late Friday night, a bunch of kids go in there, they have their family fob, and again, I'm just giving you all the things that I've thought about, and we have some vandalism. Like I said, Meridian Ranch just went through this, and this was during the day, where their bathrooms got absolutely destroyed, not just with graffiti, but with all that TikTok nonsense. And so anyway, I hear that and I think, okay, we're spending a lot of money on a brand new, beautiful building. I'm not sure we want to do that right this moment, is open it up to that opportunity. So again, food for thought on the fob system. Punch code. So we have a system there where it's similar to a fob system. It's programmed into the door. Let's say the first of every month, we send out an email to the community. The code to get into new build is 1234, and then the first of every month, we reprogram it. And again, I'm just thinking of different ways to, where you spoke earlier, we're not, let me just finish my last one real quick. Alright, the last one that I could think of, and again, that's why I'm bringing it to you, is that there may be other things we haven't. A programmable lock, where we program it, and we've gotten an estimate on this, it's programmed, and it's also tied into your alarm system, so you can program it to go off, let's say, and open at 4:30 AM, the people who wanna get there before work, which is a fairly solid crowd, and then it can turn back on and lock, and you can program it from our computers, to, let's say, pick a time, let's just say 10:30 for argument's sake. Gives your community more opportunity, more hours. It doesn't open up for midnight, Friday night, bunch of kids get in there and do that thing.
Unless they go in before 10:30.
And I get it, and like I said, I don't have the end-all be-all answer, that's why I wanted to present what I've come up with and thought about. There are pros and cons, the other piece that some people have brought to our attention, and right now we just don't have it, and something to think about for the future, is connecting the two. Positive is now we know exactly who's going in that building, they're coming past our front desk. Another positive is they're seeing all the flyers, they're seeing all the stuff that we have to offer, which is a positive. And then they go kind of out that side door by my office and down that little walkway, and it's just all connected. Weather-related stuff, I know I've heard that argument of what if we slip on the ice going from building A to building B, food for thought. Instead of an enclosed structure, do you build more of like a pavilion type walkway to help out with that? Anyway, I'm throwing it at you guys. What do you
Hey,
think?
Jed,
Yes,
Jed, I had another idea. I've been working with the IT company for the district, and I think, we can have a conversation with them and for the community members that are there and kick around this idea. How many people own a cell phone? All the new cell phones actually have NFC capability where, you can do Apple Pay or Google Pay. You can actually use those for key fobs. And I don't know if most people know you can do that or not. And I believe that there's software in a software company that we can engage. And what ends up happening is that each phone becomes the identifier for who accesses the building.
That's a great idea.
okay.
So I think we can actually reach out to Frontier, and they will actually go find that software for us, and we can get a cost analysis breakdown done on that.
Okay,
Okay? Because what ends up happening is that particular owner of the phone, you could probably integrate into our Partner Rec Center data information and actually capture who actually entered the building, based on whose cell phone was used.
Yeah, they may swap key fobs, but they ain't gonna swap phones.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
No.
brilliant.
like I said, that's why I'm bringing it here.
Yeah, they would alleviate the cost of the fobs.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a phone. If they don't have a phone, we'll figure out an alternative, because you can do the same thing with an NFC key card, which those companies will offer, and that'll be a much smaller cost. Because nobody wants, like me, I don't want to carry an extra fob or an extra key. I'll just use my phone.
Yeah.
Jed, is there a due date when you need a decision?
So yes and no, if that makes any sense.
Don't know yet.
Hypothetically, if they're done mid-November, end of November, whatever the date is that they hand us the keys, for short term, until we solidify that decision, we can just stay with the old-fashioned key and unlock it and lock it during the hours that we're at RCE. If you want this thing in place, whatever the thing is that we choose, then you have, give or take, a month and a half to 2 months to make that decision.
So by mid-November, you need to make a decision.
If you want it in place, or if you wanna take your time and digest it, and again, for whatever my opinion's worth, if it was just me and just my decision, I would probably stay with just a key for the moment. And what I mean by that is, let's see what 6 months looks like. Evaluate how much use this is getting. How many people are really saying, hey, I'd love to get in there at 4:30 or 5, and really analyze and get some data before we either spend a lot of money or maybe not spend a lot of money. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know if that's right either, but it at least gives us more time to get some more information. Does that make any sense? Sorry.
What
I know you
what
had a
about-
question.
I don't know how much it would cost, but what about a security company until we get that in place?
It's probably just cheaper to use a good old fashioned key.
Yeah, the security companies are pretty expensive.
Are they?
Yeah.
Now, intertwined in this, we have many cameras going into the building. I think you and I talked about this. We have 2 in the gym, 2 in the weight room, 1 in the hallway when you enter, 1 outside the front door, 1 outside the back door, and 1 outside in the little, I'll say alleyway for lack of a better word, between the 2 buildings. So
With night vision and sound.
we're going high ends on the cameras. That was part of that conversation. Again, we as a community are spending a lot of money, and that's kind of where my mind keeps going. And again, it's your decision. I keep going back to, with the stuff going on, Meridian Ranch, I keep using as an example. I always want to err on the side of caution. And I know that will ruffle some feathers as far as like, well, you know, I want to get in there at 5 or 4:30, or I wanted to get there at 10 and it's closed. But for the moment, you still have this downstairs to get in at those weird times. And so, I don't know, my mind just keeps going on the side of caution.
Really have to think about it.
Okay, that's why I want it on paper, and again, Neil has obviously a 5th idea or 5th opportunity for us, and we'll kind of get some more information on that, and if you think of other ideas, let me know. I know
I mean, if I
someone
had to
said that,
decide
like,
right now, I
individual-
would probably, personally, I would err. My vote would be to err on the. let's
Just for
take-
short term, for
Let's
the
take a
moment, right?
short-term piece and see who's using it when it's getting used. Yes,
I
sir.
could just make a comment on this. Number one, we need to have some way of identifying every single person that uses the facility. A lot of times, whether they use a phone, a fob, a card, one person uses it and 50 people may come in after that person. So we have, even though we may have cameras, we have no way of identifying who all the people are that goes in there. Then we can't follow up if something happens. We can't say, well, so-and-so may have done it because we don't have any cameras in the restroom. They're illegal, more or less. So how else do we know who all the people are? And I think that's one of the main issues. And if we can identify or find a way of making sure that everybody has to either show a fob, use a phone, or use a card, or somehow register, whether it's through the front desk, through some kind of technical means, that's the bottom line, is you have to identify who those people are, so that in case something happens, then we know all the people that are there, and then we have a place to start with controlling. So all those ideas are great, and all of them may cost money, but I think the bottom line is you have to have some way of identifying every single person, whether you open it all night, all day. Maybe somebody wants to use the pool at night. Why not? If our insurance covers everything, we don't need lifeguards, why not open that up? And what happens then? So you open up a can of worms that way. So again, I'm not coming up with any solutions, but I'm saying that these are things that need to be considered and have a way of controlling it if you expect to have security. Or else our insurance is gonna go sky up, and we're gonna be at the bottom end, having to pay for everything and not having a good facility. That's all.
Which again, piggybacking on that, they're all valid points in conversation, and we've definitely had them.
I'm sure you have.
And I guess that goes also back to the eventually connect them so that they do have to come through door A,
Yeah.
where we all are.
And if I may add something,
Just-
there's no reason why we can't set it up one way immediately, like only open it during the day and have people check in at the desk, and then later on, as we figure out how we're gonna do it, then we can modify it or change it. But we don't have to set everything in stone now.
Right.
That was part of the reason why we separated the buildings. Originally, we did have, in one of the previous ideas for putting a building out there, a walkway going from Rec Center East to the new build, so people would have to go in that direction. And we kind of sold it as we want this to be open to the public
all the time.
all the time. So, I agree there has to be something, but did we plan on having that building staffed?
So, when I came on board, and I'm not deflecting anybody, but there were numerous different conversations going on.
There were, yes.
And when I came on board, the conversation that I had with my boss at the time was, we're not connecting, period. So that's out. And staffing costs money. That 24-hour system was what was the initial idea. I just hear these vandalism things, and I hear other stories, and I think, I don't really know if we want all of that open 24/7. And that's just my thought. That doesn't mean I'm right by any means.
So we really need an answer by the next board meeting
I think so.
in order to put something into place.
Can you put
To
together
get
a
it ordered
cost,
and, you know, if you're buying something.
can you put together a cost analysis for staffing from 4
Absolutely,
to
sure.
midnight, say, 4 in the morning till midnight?
4 in the morning, midnight, sure. And again, I'm not deflecting, I'll put that together for you.
And I guess my
Does
question
Tucker
would be,
want to sit there?
If you had a
Facetious
basketball
when I say
team,
that question.
no, I get that, but I
And
mean,
I get that, that's a second piece to all this.
even
but-
if it's somebody sitting there watching cameras.
Yep,
What's the cost of that versus this high-tech key fob system and all this outside stuff? I mean, you know, if we can give a 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid a job
yep.
to watch the cameras, yes, sir.
Exactly, and that's a
Another
good
option.
thing to cost affect that. How much does it cost to have a bouncer, or security guard at the door at a nightclub?
Right.
Good
bouncer?
job, John.
You know, I mean,
That's a good point. I mean,
again, cost analysis.
Big bouncer?
I said, are you looking for a?
I don't know, I guess I'm
I need
always
a new knee
looking,
and just got a new shoulder. You think I'm looking for
I
a
guess I'm always
bouncer?
looking at how can we, I'm always looking how we can better employ or help, or
I'm all
help
for
out
that.
community members,
Yeah.
kids, you know. Not so much my kid already knows he can't work for the district until I'm gone.
I get that.
So,
Listen, it doesn't hurt to analyze every single one of these avenues and just kind of come back together in a couple weeks and.
What do you do when you have a basketball team or somebody that is renting that space after hours?
These are all good questions and they're written down for you here, different policy ideas,
Okay.
Right.
right? Do we go with the pool policy, which is 3 free and then afterwards you have to pay for those additional guests? Do you go with a drop-in fee? Right, these are all things that need to be ironed out and we've been chewing on, and have different thoughts on
have
them,
you got
you know?
your counterpart over there to see what the operations look like? I know there's certain days they're open till 10.
His first comment was, you are absolutely insane if you open that gym up 24/7.
Was that before or after he had to
That was
clean
before.
graffiti?
That was before. And that's just his take, and
I don't
He
think
thinks
it's
the
so much
basketball
during the
court-
week.
yeah.
But I
We're
think
talking
it's-
Friday and Saturday night.
I'm
probably.
talking like,
Summers.
I know a lot of the high school kids like to go play basketball and so I see some of them out here at 10 o'clock on Friday night playing spike ball out here in the volleyball courts. So I think
Which
there's,
is
I
all fantastic,
think
right?
there's a demand for
Yeah.
that on nights like that and stuff, but I don't know that there's so much of a demand for the basketball court and stuff at 1 o'clock in the morning
I
on
don't-
Tuesday night.
But our building is designed where they're both there, right? And so, and again, maybe it's a hybrid of all these things we're talking about.
Well, let's kick it around.
So-
Let's kick it around, let's get the cost analysis on just,
You got
on
it.
having somebody staff it, and see what it looks like, you know, and 24 hours probably isn't the answer. I know that was what we were designed for with it, but it may not be the answer. If the demand's not there for it, then it's not the answer, there's no sense keeping the lights on and all that stuff, and just burning money.
How many people do you get coming in here at midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning? You have any idea, anywhere
I can
going?
find that out for you, but it's gonna be minimal during that time. The action starts somewhere around 4:30.
Yeah, it's like, I think last time the 11 to 3 was like the, kind of the dead
Quiet,
spot
yeah,
downstairs
and
here.
right before work, people start coming here and then they shower and go to work or that type of thing, so.
I can, because I used to come by the workout room at all hours of the day, because I don't work anymore, I'm a contractor. But, okay, so I can tell you from experience, you don't have to even make the count, but you can if you want. It's almost dead in the middle of the night, from 1 in the morning to, let's say, 3, 4 in the morning. So it does pick up after work from maybe 3, 4 till, who knows, on weekends, it goes late, 11 o'clock. But middle of the night, it's dead. Okay, so I think it's a good valid point, is why are we paying insurance, why are we paying utilities to keep it open 24/7?
I'll get you that cost analysis and we'll kind of revisit all of it, and between now and then, if you think of something different,
I mean, compared to other places that
Yeah.
are similar,
like a Lifetime Fitness, Villa Sports,
well, some of those are
24
open
hour.
24, but they're in town. This is still, believe it or
Yeah.
not, a fairly quiet community in the evenings.
I get it. I'll put some more homework into all that and see where it goes. Last couple things for me, speaking of vandalism and that kind of concept, I'm throwing this at you guys as a board. When we have that type of stuff, we run into it, mostly at Balkan Park and a little bit at the disc golf thing. Do you guys want me to file a police report each and every time,
Every
as
time.
minor or major as it is?
You can go online, file an ICR report,
ICR?
yes. And just file it online, a deputy will follow up, it may take a few days for them to follow up,
Yep.
but, just go on there and file it online.
Okay.
Unless it's an active thing going on right now,
Okay.
they can respond and make an
Yep,
arrest on
I
it.
get that, that's.
As far as, anything that we find out there in the morning and stuff, you know, take pictures for our benefit before anything's touched, and then, call, you can file that online.
Okay, perfect. Last thing for me, I promise.
Jeff, real quick on that, you know, when you do that, we're gonna be changing some things in the office, so if you can build an SOP for it, just a standard operating procedure document.
I'm sorry,
Just an
what you
SOP,
said.
so if you're not here, somebody else knows exactly how to handle
You
that.
got it.
Not that we plan
We're
on
gonna
you
be
being
doing all
anywhere.
of those
I said,
processes.
what do you hinting
Had you worried, didn't I?
at?
He doesn't have his golf course yet.
Last thing, we did send in the application to the state for our preschool idea, with the $200 fee. We'll see where that goes. If we get approved, we can then take that and apply for that big grant that we talked about, or I think it was presented last meeting. And if we get the grant, then you guys can make that decision whether you want to accept it and talk about that preschool idea, or if you want to deny it and move in a different direction. But anyway, the ball is rolling as far as the applications,
Right.
so.
There is one more thing that I think was in here, but I don't know that you
Did I miss
brought up. The next board meeting cannot
Oh,
be here.
yes.
So my question is the old child watch room at RCE, with the amount of people we had here
No,
tonight,
That's not.
big enough for
So I
doing a
had,
meeting?
my initial thought was this, and this was more for Ted than anybody else, to have it in the middle of our new build, so that he could see there was no insulation hanging from the rafters or walls. The only other place I could think about is the aerobics room at RCE. Might be big enough.
Okay,
Or you can change it to the week before. Like you know, El Paso County is renting this out for.
Yes, for the
the
election.
Election.
And they'll be here, all their equipment, and they get the key to this, and we're locked out
Yep.
for that period of time. So, if you guys wanna think about it, thank you for bringing that up.
Well, we had thought about the child watch room.
I don't think
but
that's
if it's
big
not
enough for all of us. I think the aerobics room would be sufficient, might be a little tight, but would be sufficient.
Yeah, I don't wanna bring people into the new build, cause the grounds outside's
I was
not gonna be
joking, I just-
prepared, so.
Bring him in the school, come on.
In the pool.
The only other option I can think of would be to clean some of the stuff out of the garage at the district office and hold it out in the garage.
Again,
I mean,
unless you
that's
want
the
to change
only
the
other
date,
spot we
just
have
so
that
you-
has sufficient room.
I would probably say, how long are they gonna have the building? Just that, the November?
Double check, I wanna say it's the 18th, is it in there? 18th to November 10th?
I was gonna say typically they set up 2 weeks before
Yeah.
election, and they have any time
If
between
it's
the
not
2
in, I'll
weeks
get it to you
after.
first thing in the morning.
To pick it up.
I wanna say a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Cause our firehouse does the same
Okay,
thing,
so,
and they take our boardroom.
So, here's what we're probably gonna need to do. We'll have to just send out a notice,
okay,
because I think they're about done budget committee with the budget. So we need to schedule the budget hearing for the public
okay.
in that window somewhere. So we might be able to kill two birds with one stone, have the hearing and the meeting on a different date other than that third week. Because normally we don't have a meeting on that third week in November because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay.
But this year we are going to have some meeting in November for budget purposes, so, let's kick it around.
Okay.
May not be an issue, if we move the meeting up to get the budget hearing in. Fair enough?
And it'll have to
Fair
be the
enough.
first week of November.
Okay.
So we will have the meeting, but it will probably be moved up in the month,
That's fine.
so
So
that
know
we can get the
when
budget
and where,
hearing in.
and we'll set it up for you.
Well, there's 30-day notice requirement for
Okay.
budget hearing and everything, so a lot of things have to transpire before we lock in a date, so.
Any other questions for me?
I'm sure I'll think of a ton on my way home tonight, but right now,
Send me
no.
an email. We're good?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, you ready? This your first one?
It was long. Well, my bad. Lots going on.
That does move up. You want to lift it up?
Actually,
What's he trying to say?
What's that?
What's he trying to say?
I have the
They're
same,
super tall,
I have the same
just
problem.
like me.
all right. Hope I can keep this a lot shorter.
I almost couldn't see you.
Let Troy announce it first.
Okay.
All right, item 10, water and wastewater report. Fire away, JD.
All right, so the water operations, you're probably gonna get a little bit more than what I saw in the last month's approved agenda, which is, we do a whole lot more than, what you don't see behind the scenes. And so, with that being said, the Tamlin line has been put into service. We had did the work of getting that into service from the tie-ins to getting the back tees collected from 823 to 825. My goal was to get it into operation a whole lot sooner than what a delay that was incurred during the time of testing and pressure testing for the lines and filling the lines up. There's a lot involved with that. To give a little synopsis is that when you're filling up the line, you're pressure testing, you're walking the line, you're seeing if there's any wet spots. Anything that's out of the ordinary, the tail's gotta go and find the problems. During this time, we've only wasted 134,000 gallons of water. So what it equates into the zone that we took the water out of is only 2 feet of our tanks up here to the tank site. And so it's pretty good. And that's including the loss of pipe that was taken out of service of 27,000 gallons. So we take this reading here of these numbers and we have to account for the water that's being lost versus what's being produced and used in the community. So everything has come back perfect as far as putting it back into the operation, water was safe and healthy, and so the bacteria came back as negative. Our new upgrades to filter plant 3 were a long time coming. We have gotten the new VFDs, the pumps, and the motors. They are into operation. You will be seeing a bill, the final statement on that from Applied Ingenuity. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It wasn't, I didn't have that at the time I did this report.
Okay.
Okay. And then, as far as the meters being installed for new ones, they have slowed down, so for this time period, only 6 was been installed. There is some delays because of chips. We're waiting on for the endpoints that goes to those meters to be read out by our office. I just was told about that today. At this time, I'm just bringing it to your attention about that there was some complaint about, hey, we can't get meters from the builder, XYZ, whatever. That's because they're further back. And so for water quality, during this time, we have collected our lead and copper samples, so we collect 20 per year. They are done by the homeowners. That has been selected by the pool that we've identified what that pool would be, and then we put that into the monitoring report that is submitted to the state. Once it's submitted to the state, it's done, pretty much. And so the focus on lead, more than the copper, is just that the water remains motionless in the water line for 6 hours, whatever the water corrodes out of the plumbing fixtures, the piping and all that. That's how they measure those particulates. And so for the most part, our water doesn't leach the lead. There's no attributing any lead in the copper because of the lead copper rules that took place in 1985 and more recently. So that is good. It's a non-detect. We're a pretty new system. Where the lead may come into problem is that the older fixtures prior to 2008 and older, that there was lead in the brass fittings or whatever when the house was constructed. So just the food for thought there. But, and then also we collect the TTHMs, H85s, which I don't expect anybody to know what those mean, but they are carcinogens for byproducts of chlorine. It's been added to the water for disinfection. And those would only appear when water sits stagnant in the pipe for a long time. And then finally our nitrates, they all come into below the detectable numbers that would really raise a health concern for the community. And like I say, at this time, during this time, we did not have any groundwater calls. Usually we get those from contractors, but on the hydrants that they were in an area that were designated for them to use. But also, it could be that someone coming in our district and exporting water, I would say stealing water at this point, and we can't export our water beyond our boundaries. So, part of our work that we do, we also do our fire hydrant maintenance. Right now, I say that our fire hydrants need a little more attention. I addressed that. We're waiting to see if I can get some more paint. 4 gallons doesn't cover very many hydrants. So I had them painted about 4 years ago. The type of paint, it's with the sun, with the UV protection, it says it's in there. If you can get 3 years out of a paint job, it doesn't matter if a house or any of those things, you're gonna have to repaint at some point. So you're gonna see our hydrants being a little bit more spruced up than what they are. So we have done a total of 14 up in the Thurrod area, because we started over in our maintenance program, and as well as finishing up the ones that are the 8. We had 3 that were damaged. 1 was at the rec center east, when there was a gas leak there on the 30th of August. Fire department couldn't get under because somebody had gotten onto that fire hydrant with a pipe wrench. Ours has got a little square nut on there, it's tapered. It's the Colorado Springs spec nut. And if they can't get the wrench on there, well, guess what? They're gonna have to go find another hydrant, and it could be 500 feet away. I frown on when our hydrants are not operational, because I want to make sure that when you're in bed at night, there's a fire hydrant outside your house or on your street. I want to feel confident that the fire department can A, get on that, and 2, they can effectively get and knock out the fire. That's the utmost importance for me. That was hammered for where I used to work previously. And nobody wants to be on KDRO, KTTV, TV or Fox 21. I want to avoid all that. Just assure you that, it's always been my goal.
We appreciate that.
Okay, and ongoing issues that we have right now, we have 2 wells that are out of service. At the time I've written this report, I can confirm both of these items here. We're gonna have to see a proposal on well 5. It had been in service for 11 years, which is fantastic for a deep well. Usually you get 5 years, between 2 to 5 years on a well, and that one has been used pretty heavily. Well 6, the reason why we had to pull that out, because the water level at the time was thought that it was enough to operate that well. Unfortunately, we had to lower it down to a deeper depth, and including we had to replace some piping. So, A was negative that we had to replace some piping, but it's a good thing to know about that. And the other negatives is that we had to lower this down, and I wish it was done at the time it was recommended.
Is, is that in the Denver or is that Laramie Fox?
That's a Fox Laramie well. So these wells here that I mentioned are the Fox Laramie wells. The water is, to give you an example, 1,900 feet is a pumping level, but that well is 2,265 feet deep. So that's the bottom of the well. So you want to set your well as deep as you can with leaving that leeway room for anything like scaling inside the well, casing the piping and all that, to set it on the bottom so you don't pull it up and plug the pump in the well water. So it's very important that you leave a little bit of leeway of that. How we measure our water, if that was a question, I will entertain that for a moment. We have 2 airlines that are taken down with the pump, and it's strung along with the piping coming up before it exits it into the distribution system for treatment. And what we use is a nitrogen gas to equalize the pressure between the water that's being forced down and coming back for the pressure gauge. And then that tells us when everything's equaled out and got a good number. Usually you do about 3 tests after you get your first initial number. And that's the number you've written down. And so just for hypothetical, if we're sitting at 1,900 feet and I have 100 feet of water there, that's 23 PSI, just to give you some idea of how that equates out.
How many years is that well? I'm just curious on well 6, how many years has that been in sitting in there between lowerings? Is this the first time we've lowered that?
This is gonna be the first time to lower it, yes.
And
So
it's been in there how long?
I have to look to see what the record is on that one, but I would say probably closer to the year 2000 when that was probably drilled. So it's not too terribly old, as well as well site 5. Well site 5 there, Fox Laramie, that's our deepest well in the district. That's 2,340 feet. The reason why I know this is because I deal with the well permits, and I have to make sure we don't go over allotment when we pump in the water that's designated for a certain amount of acre feet of water we can pull over the ground.
Do we report that to the state when we have to lower a well?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the well drilling company, which we've been using as Applied Ingenuity, they're really good at making sure that once they take all their measurements from each of the well screens, the conditions and everything that would be involved to make sure we have a good well still, and not having problems of maybe rehabbing or anything like that to get a better production out of there. So that's all noted in the report. They fill it out, they send it to the state, and then I get a report back to file.
Okay. I only ask because that's the big talk right now is how those aquifers are lowering. And if we report this to somebody that collects it and says, hey, Fox Laramie, over all these wells is lowered, all these districts are having to lower their wells by 300 feet, is the water being reduced in those aquifers by that amount? And how long is it taking to reduce the aquifer by that water amount over those years? So that was the only reason I asked.
Yeah.
It wasn't to stump you or anything like that, but I knew you knew the answer to it, and it's a question I've had for a while.
Well, and, something like that, just to alleviate a little bit of concern there, is that when you're lowering down the well, you're trying to get the maximum capacity of that well. And yes, there is some issues that a well may lower down a lot faster than anticipated. And then you have to start thinking about, okay, is it just because we have too many people and, or too many straws? I like to use the word straws in a punch bowl, because these well basins are in a big old bowl, and the more straws that you punch through, you're gonna be pulling down those levels of water. Some places, they like to run their wells really hard because they have, a lot more rights to that water. In other places, you don't have as much rights, but it could indenture one well from another, from one location to the other. But before you go into saying, oh, we're out of water or anything, that they go and troubleshoot, well, you have a problem. So is it because you're losing production in the well? Could it be well failure, molar failure? Could it be something plugging up the screens on the back side of those casings? You can't see that with a physical eye. You have to send out a camera down there and try to see as best as you can up close, to see if you can see anything coming through those screens other than water. So if you got silting, if you got holes in your casing, you got holes in the screen, and you're losing all your gravel packs that when that well was designed, yes, you will have some problems, and then those have to be addressed accordingly. But as far as water levels are concerned, we do report those. Those go and stays resident with us. Those go, when they're asked for, they go to the engineering firm that we are using, and then we do a water model. And so we can understand what those happen with those wells and all that. The other thing is that the meter reads that we take from those wells, everything has to be accounted for, like the water loss here that I just mentioned for the Tamlin line. So that goes to the upper black because they're in their designated basin, unfortunately. But, so that being said, they're happy with us because I report those numbers on time. They don't have to come chase us down for those numbers. And so, as long as we keep a good rapport with them, I don't want to have any problems with them or the state engineer for those meter reads. And so that is for the water side of things. Just briefly for the inspector that we have on staff for the projects that's taking place here, the Falcon and Metals and Bentgrass, the phase 1 has been installed. It's their water system is also mostly completed. There's some things I gotta look into for some answers that came to my attention. So I'll address those when I find those findings there. But the county has not approved the storm drain in that area, and it's potentially holding up some progress that we have that service for those storm drains there. Filing 2 of Bentgrass, they're doing their build out, and they're building a lot of homes, so we're not getting a lot of meters at this time for that. Falcon Marketplace is progressing. They're putting in an irrigation system. There is some preliminaries of 2 businesses going in there, and just preliminaries. I don't know what will come of those at this point. And then the Meridian Sewer Bypass, Meridian is taking up with the issues with PIE for their problems that they're dealing with that's ongoing. Any questions for any of those 2 reports?
The soil samples, are those for the move of that tank?
The soil samples are for the building of the new pump station.
Okay.
Okay, now that's an interesting point there, because we are waiting for a rest of a bid to move that tank from the tank farm.
Okay.
I don't know if I was allowed to say that yet, but.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So to reuse that tank, right now for a tank that size, we was told to build it today is about $5 to $6 million. It's because the cost of steel went up quite a bit during COVID even, and there's also a shortage of plate steel that makes those tanks. So just to be a savings for the district and that of something that can be reused, we're hoping that we can use the same soil samples that was for that building to support, to see if it would take the foundation that it's required to put on that tank over there from a 40-foot tank to cut it down to a 24-foot tank. And that would only add 1.3 million gallons of capacity to what we right now are holding 1.25 million gallons of water. So we'll just double our capacity, literally.
When you're done, I have two questions.
Now, or?
When you're done.
Oh,
So the
So
pumps,
JD, that,
go ahead.
that tank placement's gonna be over on 30th, right?
yes.
Have you two gotten together yet with the information needed and have it ready to go for the county?
We have not, but we will be ready.
Okay. Proceeding with the wastewater?
So, back up just a second. So,
Okay.
I know we had chatted in our budget meetings about relocating the tank. So we're looking at doing that in 2022.
I believe so.
Okay. And then when they rebuild it, is that when they'll paint it? Because it will be empty?
Yes.
Okay.
So that involved disassembling it, then they'll re-erect it back on site. They have to do a X-ray system for the welds, because it will have to be re-welded and have to be recertified for those welds. Once that is passed, they'll strip down what they call an SP grade, SP10. That's what, it's just like if you do going to a primer on a side of a piece of metal, that's what it looks like, but the metal has been sandblasted to look like primer. And so when that happens, then they can able to prep the coatings as required. And so they go through a layer of processes and they'll have to be measured. We can do that in-house. We did that on tanks that we had painted 3 years ago. And so, yeah, everything, there's a process to it, but it's all included in that one price that we submitted to you.
So the question I have, if I can real quick, we have already budgeted for years ago, I don't know how many years ago, for repainting that tank.
Last
That
year.
was at 450 to 500,000 for repainting that tank.
I think we budgeted 350,000.
No, it should have been a lot more than that.
Well, let me pull it.
Now, we've also budgeted to repaint the small tank over here, which was probably the 350,000 one. Since we are not repainting either of those tanks, that money can be allocated to moving the tank from tank farm to down the street here.
Right.
But what I don't know is what do we have for, are you saying 350 still?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Or do you have painting tanks twice on there?
I have
You should have twice.
paint 2MG tank interior. Is that the tank?
That is the tank.
Okay, so there should, we also did the other tank, the small tank over here. They had budgeted for repainting it last year or the year before, or the year before that.
Before my time.
Probably before your time, so that money is still there.
Okay.
Or should be still there. So what we need to figure out is, what's it gonna cost to move this tank? We don't know the concrete cost yet, because we haven't done the soil samples.
Right.
So if this is gonna be a 2022 project,
Right.
we need to know or have an idea of how much more money we need to allocate to that entire project.
So on the proposal that was submitted from, I don't recall what the name of the company that submitted it, but they had the disassembling it and moving it. That was that one part of the price, and I think it was in the tune of about 150, maybe a little less, 150,000. and then it's just to store it there, and then to re-erect it would have been the second piece of that, once everything was put in place. And that was one part they did put in there, was the foundation part of it, because they didn't have a soil sample report. It's not too terribly hard to get, but once everything has been accomplished on the new building and the new pump station's up and operational, instead of trying to put the cart before the horse to proceed with the other things, to get an idea if you can support that tank in that smaller location, because you just shorten up the size of your lot. 93 feet is the diameter of that tank, and it would be approximately 30, 40 feet away from the new pump station.
So the current question is, I thought I saw a quote to disassemble, reassemble, paint, everything done with the exception of concrete work for $650.
Yes,
650,000.
that is correct.
So then we have to look at concrete work. I have no idea how many yards of concrete, what it would cost. I don't know if anybody can give you an estimate just in how much concrete we would need. But in order to do this project in 2022, we have to put it into the budget.
Yes.
So between, and I'm sorry you weren't here, but Stacy's saying that for moving that, or for painting that tank, I've been told $450 since the day I started. And she said that they allocated $350
Yes, we did.
in last year's budget or the year before.
Yes.
Last year's budget we did.
We also, at some point in time, allocated money in the budget to repaint the small tank up here,
Yes.
but I don't know what that number is. So my whole point is, if we're planning on doing this tank in 2022, we have to know how much has been allocated for those two tanks,
Right.
and then get an idea of what's left over. Have we done that?
So I believe right now we have allocated money for the pump station.
Yes.
Yes.
We have allocated money for, well, we had allocated money to, I believe, tear down the tank from the tank farm.
No.
No, because we never got an actual price on that, and it was gonna
I
be
know we
free.
had the paint piece in there.
Yes, the paint piece was in there.
Is this,
So Troy,
yes,
originally, I believe the intent was that we weren't planning on moving it, that was a new plan. The original price quote was actually painting it on location where it was, and working out an agreement to use it in the same site that it was.
Yeah.
The new move was moving it to this location here.
yeah, cause we had three options on the table: sell it, scrap it, move it. The best option for us is to, cost-wise, is we can move it for a sixth of the cost that it would cost us to build a new one, double our capacity at Theriot, all at the same time that we're putting a new pump station on, state-of-the-art pump station online.
Right, and the whole idea is, we'd be saving the community $4 million in future.
Yes, we would definitely be saving the community a big chunk.
So what have you decided?
My question is, I have two questions. One is this a piece, because it is part of that pump station, do you think we could get 3 million in grant?
I don't think that any district will get 3 million,
You think our cap's gonna be 2?
and that might be high. I spoke with somebody at the county and reported that someone else at the county was saying that districts should apply for grants for projects that cost between 1 and 2 million. And that second guy put his head in his hands because the number was so high. He said different people are saying different amounts.
Okay.
So you are working on that grant?
I am.
Okay.
Which could possibly, if it works out, save us another $1 to $2 million next year.
So is that the replace transfer pump station?
That's what we have ready to, I believe our engineers have the pump station ready to design, ready to go. we are ready to go with plans and everything, and that was the county's requirement. It had to be a project that, when they call for it, it's ready to go.
You're talking about, you said, in fact, you're gonna move it?
That has been what, at least my opinion, is the best decision for the district moving forward, is to increase our water storage capacity and utilize what we have instead of spending money down the road on another tank.
I was just asking the basic question, are you gonna do something with it to where it is, or have you in fact decided you're gonna move it?
We're gonna move it.
Okay, all right. So that has not found its way apparently into the budget yet?
No. That piece hasn't, pieces of it have,
Yeah, so the replace transfer pump station was in last year's budget
yes.
and got set aside.
How close are you to John's 650?
Within 250 grand, but that's not counting concrete.
Yeah,
But a concrete bid should be pretty simple. Any concrete company will
Well,
do that.
Yeah,
mean,
but
Jeff's
it-
gotta
we
get
need
it.
the soil sample first.
Okay.
And it could range anywhere, it's kinda like when we built the new tank. Is it going to require the extra construction costs, or is it going to be simplified?
I'm just saying, getting to John's point about the concrete, it's relatively simple to do. It's not a month or 2 month delay to be able to get that.
What did the pad cost for the new water tank?
I had to look at that because, you know, I wasn't privy to the cost breakdown of that tank. I was privy to go in there, walk in the tank, am I happy with it, and get out and fill it.
Well, I mean, and the reason I ask is, I mean, yeah, we're talking about, those are pretty far away geographical areas. Different stormwater runoff, everything. But, I mean, it could give us some type of a, at least a, I mean, the budget process is simply that. I mean, we're making our best guess here based on averages and income. Do you think that if we have 650 in there now to move it with concrete costs, do you think we're gonna go over $1 million?
I'll have to look, and I think the only fair, answer to that is look to see what it cost us when that was approved on the last, I don't know, was it 2020's budget?
So
there
you're
should be a-
thinking 350 for concrete?
I think the best,
I would
the best
rather
course
shoot
of
a
action
little
right
bit.
now would be to simply call Ryan, who did everything that had to do with that tank,
Yes.
and say, Ryan, give me your best ballpark.
Right.
With this estimate we have at 650 to move it, what do you think the total cost will be? And then that's the number that we have to put to the budget. If we're going to do that project in 2022.
The pump station has to be built.
I know the pump station does.
We don't have a choice. We have no parts for it.
But we already have the money for the pump station.
We do, and we already have the money set aside for the painting of the tank.
Correct.
Which was a big chunk of the move in the first place. So realistically, we're looking at the most another 600,000, I think. If my numbers are right.
So that would put us at 1.25 for the whole project, for the tank project.
I think more, probably $1 million. 650 to $1 million.
I'd
somewhere.
say safely, say about $1 million.
Stacy's scratching her head, her brain, everything's twisting right now. What are you guys doing to me?
okay, so the replace transfer pump station, we have 2.5.
Right.
That stays separate from the tank.
Correct.
I have 350,000 in there for the paint of the 2MG tank. We can use that money to move the tank. I don't have, cause I wasn't here, I don't have that number from the other tank you guys were going to paint on the interior. So I don't know what that dollar amount is.
So that's another part of
Is the other tank, the
Deal.
250,000 gallon tank?
Yes.
We're talking about removing that, right?
Right. Totally removing
So
that.
we won't be painting that.
Exactly.
Right.
Correct.
But you guys had budgeted and set aside money
We
to
did.
paint it. I don't know what that dollar amount is.
And that may be something that David could pull out quickly on Monday.
Let's work on getting the numbers before we make a firm decision. We're going to probably end up bumping up or at least next month's meeting. And if we need to call a special meeting to get that stuff thrown in there, but I think as long as we can get it in the budget, well, I think we'll be all right to be able to allocate funds in the budget at least, and put it out to the public. So that pump station, that tank is kind of the last, really, right now, big, infrastructure projects that need to be completed to update the district. Aside from, I mean, you're working on the spray bars and stuff like that over there, but, or I guess Wally is.
Wally is on that one.
That was all I had.
Okay.
It's a good question, but let's just flesh out numbers on that.
Okay.
And really,
Just done.
and really on concrete, the problem's gonna be is we're making a best guess right now, but we have no idea when the project started, how much concrete's gonna be at that time.
Right.
So,
Right.
we're going to have to take a best guess at it, we're not gonna have an exact dollar figure, so.
Okay, and then, could I mention something about our SCADA system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I kinda know what that's gonna be.
this one I knew about, so I'm good. Share away.
All right, well, to put it mildly, we have an old dinosaur that's obsolete, on top of obsolete equipment. And I asked the questions about, well, for this to get us forward with what Neil was trying to get accomplished at our office with the old server, if we could put a computer system that would talk to the obsolete equipment. And he says, yes, but he says, you're gonna be doubling your efforts and you're gonna double your costs. He says, why don't you just stick with the plan that we presented to you, and that way you just upgrade the whole thing at once. So that you can, one, get off of the server that's holding up what Neil wants to accomplish over there, at the same time that you can be off of the server and you can have a secure link on into this computer so we can continue our operations. So this is a preliminary that they've went to all of our sites and put together. I'll leave this with you as a copy, and the cost and their explanations in there.
How much?
There's, the quote there is $610,000. So that takes care of all the obsolete.
I'm not even
equipment.
flinching, I knew about it.
Well, that's less than what I thought it was gonna be.
The other portion of this puzzle here, I've been at this for the last 7 years. I went through 7 different vendors. I got pushed off to the side. Unfortunately, here we are, we're talking about this, and now it's costing quite a bit of money. 5 years ago, if we had done an upgrade with the computer upstairs, we could have bought ourselves 10 years. So 5 years from now, we'd be talking about upgrading the equipment and the plants. Now, that's not an option no more. And so most of the equipment that's in our plants that talks to SCADA net is from 2015 is when it just went in obsolete because you can't get parts for it. If you do find parts, it's gonna be on eBay, and you're taking a chance of whether or not you're gonna get a card or not. And I don't wanna go down that road, and fortunately, we only have a couple of cards and a couple of plants there that was able to maneuver some ports there to keep ourselves afloat and operating. But we're on, like there again, we're on borrowed time. If we don't do something soon, what will happen is that computer crashes, we will be staffing and trying to find, when an alarm is supposed to go off, we won't get it. So we're gonna go and say, okay, we gotta do something with the distribution system, because we have low chlorine, because we need an alarm for it. We're not there when it happened. Others could be, pump stations at the lift station could start failing and sewer start backing up and start in the mains and start flooding homes. I don't wanna go down that road. So, the importance of it is that we gotta have it. We can't say, well, we don't need it. It's one instance, I will share this with you. This happened about 3 years ago. And our SCADA had a glitch in there for an update of a previous IT person that we had. go in there and check permissions for our SMT alarms to go out through via email to their server, the one that's dying right now.
Do you want this?
We have lost 1 million gallons of water that day because I didn't get the alarm. And the only way I caught it is I checked my SCADA throughout the day. And I check it 3-4 times a day. I wanna make sure what I know is going on in my system. It's a responsibility to take it very seriously. And no one called about water when that roundabout was put down there at the end of McLaughlin and Meridian down there. Well, the line had broke apart and all this water was going and filling up the pond. No one doesn't drive over there. It's under construction. You can't drive. It's closed off. How would you know? And the only way I knew was it says hard tanks at 9 feet. What the world's going on here? And I didn't even.
Hey, JD,
Yes, sir.
you know, to attest to what he's saying is that, when we've gone through and reviewed, we're working on the back IT systems of what's happening, what's being reported. You know, the biggest issue is, you know, also speaking to IT, they said, this is a 40-year-old dinosaur. So, what JD's saying is very correct, that, you know, it's kind of like asking for safety protection, driving a 32 Ford. So, you know, take that on the highway and then, you know, put your family in it.
32 Fords are very valuable. 3-window or 5-window.
Not as valuable as that Lamborghini you had.
Not very
That was the
safe,
fastest car
but
between
I-
2 repair shops I've ever owned.
So how long is this price good for?
30 days.
30 days. I just got that, I think Tuesday, and I submitted to you
Yep.
yesterday.
Obviously.
I don't
can't
actually
have
know
my
what
glasses
day
on.
it even is, so. it's fine.
And
We have this built in. Is
It's
this
in the
built into
budget.
the budget?
It's built in to the 2022 budget.
So
Yes.
if we get a contract from them within 30 days, we can plan on this upgrade in 2022.
22, yes.
Well, I guess we have 30 days to prepare to get a contract prepared.
Yeah,
Now,
or
JD,
they
is this
may well
only
have
applicable
one.
to the-
Wait, let me
to the
back
water
up.
side, or is this also gonna handle the wastewater issues?
This is gonna be for the whole water, both sides of the wastewater and water.
Oh.
Okay. Stacy and I worked clear on that after we reviewed some of that stuff, so that's
So
awesome.
now you can
It's even
split
better
that.
news, so that actually got cheaper.
Yeah.
So I have the 610,000 for the SEDA, but then I have on the sewer side from Wally, I have 120,000. That includes the electrical install of the bar, which they're buying out of this year's budget, but there wasn't enough money budgeted in the 2021 budget to install it. We only budgeted enough money to buy the actual piece. So,
but that's not part of the SCADA thing, is it?
No.
No,
well, I have it listed under here, electrical install of bar and the sewer side of the upgrade at 120,000.
I think that's for the bar screen or the
Yeah.
spray
Yeah.
bars.
Spray bars.
So that has no
Yeah,
SCADA
JD,
components.
Wait a minute.
can that electrical work be combined with the current work, with the, added work on skate at the same time?
It's in here.
You know, I didn't understand, I didn't hear that, sorry.
64,000.
Could you repeat
The
that?
electrical work for the, bar install, can that be combined at the same time to have the electrical work done and the upgrades done on skate of that particular area?
That's in the book.
Or
Right,
for the new SCADA, I should say, whatever the new system is.
I-
But not
Bars,
so the bar is 64,000 and then we budgeted,
the bars are
Six-
64,000, correct?
yes, but we budgeted another 60,000 for the sewer side of SCADA.
Okay.
Well, it's not, this is a total of 108,000 almost. You have installed bar screen in the bypass channel, which is the 42,793. Remove existing bar screen, reinstall bypass channel, reinstall compactor, install new bar screen for 64,000. So that's two items for a total of $107,000. Now, that's just a preliminary proposal, or quote, for the bar screen. Now, is that for the bar screen, or is that for the, spray bar?
I don't have
Are
that
they
answer.
one and the same, or are they,
I don't have that answer,
okay,
because while he was here, I think he would best answer that.
okay.
So,
Stacy, I think, while we was talking about that $60,000 figure was actually to do update repair on the current SCADA system. We'll have to double check with Wally, but I think that was what he was talking about.
Yeah, we'll need to get with Wally on that.
so a question on that, on the SCADA upgrade, would that fall under the budget increase for us and paintbrush?
My answer is yes, it would.
If
But
if
I
it's
don't
part
know.
of the budget, then it's part of the budget. I mean, we're not asking paintbrush approval of anything.
Understood, but I'm just trying to get everything collected together.
Oh, I agree
And I
with you.
did not see that in what I was sent before, I don't believe.
You didn't see the 610?
We didn't-
I didn't see that as part of the explanation for the budget increase for next year.
Right, because we didn't have it until yesterday.
So I'm just adding if that, I'm just asking if that's gonna be part of the letter that Stacy and I are gonna work together to prepare to send to them.
Yes.
And I believe that that should be.
I absolutely agree with you.
Okay.
Along with the bar.
And
Along
we're
with the
splitting
bar.
that, right? The SCADA system, we're splitting that in half between water and wastewater.
Yes.
So I did not have that split in half between water and wastewater.
If it's monitoring both enterprises, we need to split that in half. And pull the money, or allocate the money from each enterprise for it.
I have a question.
So the screen bar,
I have three questions. I've had two, now I have three. Have you picked a vendor to do the 610 in work?
This one here, is reliable.
No, that's a yes or no. Have you picked a vendor?
No, because I just presented this proposal of what it costs. Like I said, I had 7 others come here and they were all over the board.
Well, that's where I'm headed here. You have a vendor in, let me do it a different way. What I'm looking for is a contract from that vendor, whatever it is you pick, okay? Can you, as you move your way along here, get a draft contract from that vendor?
I think it's on the back of that one right there.
Ah, okay.
It's already
So,
there.
along with that, Ted, that brings up another question from me. Sorry for interrupting your three questions.
That's okay.
But does this have to go out to bid because of the cost?
I don't know the answer.
Well, you've gotten 7 proposals, right?
Is it 7 proposals now or 7 proposals over the last several years?
Several years.
So this time we've only got 1 proposal.
So I'll have to go and contact the other 7 vendors if they want to come back to deal with us.
Or put out an RFP.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, Ted.
No, that's quite all right. I hadn't thought of it. Now my 2 questions. One is Ryan with the Italian long last name,
Mangino.
thank you, Mangino, who works with John McGill. I,
Again.
well, I'm really, because now I'm
I know
gonna
who you're
confuse,
talking
I'm
about.
gonna confuse Guthrie and Tamlin again. Can you monitor, I am talking about Tamlin this time.
Okay.
Can you monitor, look over Ryan's shoulder as to what's about to happen? They're changing the pipe, putting in a bigger pipe, they're moving it to a different location. I just want some, I'll call it engineering eyes, to look over Ryan's shoulder.
That's already done, isn't it?
I don't know that, that's
It's
what I'm,
completely done.
Completely done.
Water's turned back
Done.
on.
Yeah.
no,
No?
they're telling, no, as of last week,
This
they're,
is for Ted.
they're trying to get the okay from City of Colorado Springs to move the line into the right of way.
Well,
the report says it went online yesterday, full operation.
That's been
The
moved.
Tamlin line or the Guthrie?
The Tamlin.
Tamlin line.
Tamlin line has been moved.
The-
Okay, I'm just telling you what's been going on all week. All right, well, I better get to the bottom of it then. Because, I mean, anyway, that's question one. Question two. And I don't know I don't know the answer to number one yet. Because I'm telling you what I've been told all week long about this move of the pipe. Guthrie.
Supposedly it was repressurized yesterday.
All right, I'll call Ryan and ask him.
Yeah, Ryan, we told him that we got everything up and going, and that was 8/25 of 21.
My Guthrie question,
Okay.
from when you began your comments, you said that the Guthrie line is operational?
It's been in operation since it was installed in 2005.
How many feet down is it?
The Guthrie line
6, 5?
ranges from between 5 to 7 feet, set for the long reads.
And that line, from what, I think you told me earlier, was 14 miles long?
It's approximately 14 miles long.
All right, that 14 miles has all the pipe in it that it needs, and that pipe is 5 to 7 feet down? Yes?
Mhm.
Why are we getting the easements?
It's a good question. We've been kinda asking that question ourselves.
We've been
because it's
kicking it
there
around.
since 2000.
I don't know, I'm doing it because I was told to do it. We
Well,
got the first $3,500 to be paid tomorrow or the next day.
Monday.
Monday, okay. I don't know why we're doing it.
We're getting the easements, I think the explanation was we're getting the easements because nobody can find where they had been, where we had gotten the easement before.
But we have a prescriptive easement.
Yes.
Why do we need a recorded easement?
We don't.
I'm not disagreeing, I'm just doing what I was told. And we got the first guy who's agreed, and you're having the meeting with him on Monday, and we're writing our first check, and we're getting our first easement.
I was under the impression, I thought that we had talked about this, and why are we getting these easements a couple of meetings ago?
Well, we're seeing my memory here, because I have no memory of that.
We had that discussion, and we also had the discussion of it is joint owned by us and Meridian, them paying half.
They're paying half of it, that's true. So shall I just proceed?
But our question was, if the pipe has been in the ground prior to many of them owners even owning those lots,
Right.
why are we going back and getting easements?
I don't know. That's why I was really interested in your initial comments, because now you're telling me we've got 14 miles of line, 5 to 7 feet under the ground, and it's been there since 2005, I think?
2005, yes.
Okay. We don't have, what's 18 and 5, 21? 23?
For what?
The years of the pipe in and ground.
18 years is
Right.
adverse possession.
Mhm.
Under claim of right, open and notorious use.
Yes.
Those are the elements of it.
Well, we'll record the easement we have.
We're gonna get this one from this guy on Monday.
And if the others aren't required and they don't respond,
And they haven't responded yet. We've only heard from 2 of them.
well,
One of them is settled on Monday. The other one is half settled.
The other question I had on that I haven't asked yet is, how long have each one of these property owners owned this property? Was this part of something bigger
It doesn't,
that the easement would have been under?
you can, oh, it's backwards. We can bootstrap, if there were several owners, you can bootstrap adverse possession, prescriptive easement between owners, but this is backwards. You're asking about the owner.
I'm asking about when 2005 or
Yes.
2004,
The owners were different.
was that all owned by one person and they sold it off to
That's
these
what
8 different people?
That's my understanding, yes.
And was it under a specific property address or description of the property? And would you be able to go to the county and say, hey, the description of this property in 2005 was this? Or even ask the question, what was the description of this property in 2005? And under that property, like if I go to my house, I go to the drop downs and it'll tell me every permit or everything that's ever been done. Was there an easement signed back then? But now that these have been broken up into 8 different properties, you're not gonna see that because the easement didn't follow.
We have that easement. It is one easement for the entire property, for all 8 properties. Okay? It just came as Exhibit A to we know not what.
Okay. I
We-
think we've
we
burned
have-
this bridge. I think we've gone a long ways on that.
We'll record what we get,
And then just sit quiet.
yes.
All right, that's kind of my thought, because I just haven't heard any
At
reason
least
to do
that's
it.
my opinion, 1 of 5 opinions.
Okay,
So
I
was this,
agree.
land in relation to a dissolved water district at Santa Fe Springs?
no, this is all individual landowners
Okay.
along the Guthrie line. And until you told me that the whole line is operational, I thought there was a piece of line missing. But there's not.
That's
We've
why I
got
didn't
14
understand.
miles of all the pipe we need, under the ground. Anyway, I've been through it already.
Proceed. What else we got?
Okay.
So,
wastewater.
so I have
Sorry.
split that between water and sewer. I'll get with Wally when he returns from vacation to verify that it's $107,000 for the install and moving of the current screen, installing the new screen. And the $60,000 that I originally had set aside for SCADA upgrade is actually included inside the 610.
Okay. Sounds fair. All right. Proceed with wastewater?
Sure.
Okay. So, as you know, Wally's on, vacation right now. Says, due to material shortages, increased fuel supplies and driver shortages, and COVID effects, the price of most chemicals will be increasing soon. He attached the, increase of polymer, and as the, largest expense in the chemical budget. He says his supplier there has been sent out several times with different polymers, and to date, we are using the most cost-effective polymer that serves our needs. JDS Hydro got quotes for several screen styles for the capital project of Headworks. The direct replacement screen was considered more than we expected, and so we decided to go with the 6mm cluster screens. 4mm would add the nice, but there are only 2 in service and in the United States, and it appears to be problematic versus the form of the 6mm screens that they currently have. The quote was already signed, but we realized as of 9/16/21 that the motor was for $460. So we're ready to get on him about the extra costs. Maybe that other cost there was for this 460 volt motor from the 200 volt step down transformer. So they had to get a 460 horsepower motor to power the Headworks that's been very costly at this time. So I was on conversations with that. JDS Hydro is working with the Barnard Construction to bring to the preferred option, down under 60,000 to avoid more costs of putting specs together and going out to bid. We will get more information to the board as soon as he receives those documents. The collection crews, they up to at Falcon Highlands lift station, had a seal failure and required a pump removal to replace the seal and gasket assembly. Had several issues with the pump at the new lift station 1 losing prime, made changes to set points to avoid this, and been working with 5-Star Animation to look over the infrastructure to put together a quote for upgrading SCADA systems. Otherwise, they're using a manual, their usual maintenance of the system and assisting with several other projects. wastewater guys they're doing a great job to keep up the plant monitoring and taking over some of the paperwork to free up some of the time that Wally spent out there. He did his annual maintenance on the 11 motors for the HPCA systems and replaced the filters there, checking and monitoring manholes and lines during borings and other construction projects that seem to be popping up all over town. And then his director note, he says he dealt with continuing questions surrounding the 2 properties at Owl Place, as noted, that you guys have been dealing with. Ted is dealing with the legal issues from that question, and he's been working on crunching numbers for the budget, and then he discovered that there were some major expenses that were put in the wrong line items for this year's budget, showing that the Ironman was drastically overspent. So I believe it was corrected, okay?
Yes.
And I'm sure, he says he's working with Sydney to remove them and bring them back to where they should be, and to see where the wastewater currently stands. He wrote a draft letter to Paintbrush Hills Metro District to notify them of the proposed rate increase for the sewer services. And Ted and Troy are looking over to make sure these are accurate. Been working with 5-Star Animation with to fix several SCADA issues, including alarms that are not being set out. And this has been an ongoing issue with the previous integrator and 5-Star in assembling components and programming to deal with this issue. Been working closely with Water Director as our systems are very integrated. Also looking down the road, what is needed to have a better SCADA setup once the main program and server at the office is upgraded. So beyond that, just trying to get up to speed on what's happening in the district, as my involvement in most of these projects was previously in the hands of someone else. And I'm gonna put a meeting together at the end of September, first week of October with JDS Hydro and Water Director to get more details on projects that Woodman Hills has been, and it's come down the pipe to be better informed. That's his report.
And with that, to follow up on what he just talked about, it's gonna be something that we're gonna have to take care of in other business, which is what directors are going to be where. We haven't settled that yet. 2 directors in charge of each enterprise.
Oh, you mean us?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, for board members?
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
I was going with
I'm-
like
yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
enterprise directors, okay.
And the reason I bring that up is once we decide, I've already talked with JD about at least one of each from sewer and wastewater board members attending the meeting with JDS,
Yes.
which is on the 30th at 10, correct?
Yes.
So that the board has a better idea of what's been going on in the district. So that's why I'm saying we need to fix that in other business, or figure that out in other business. When we get to that, which should be
What day is that? 30th?
30th,
Thursday, because
Thursday.
we're gonna do the budget stuff in the evening. Yep. So I have a question really fast, since you just finished sewer, and if you don't have the answer, it's totally fine. So we're looking at increases in chemicals. So is this, do you happen to know if over $100,000 is enough?
That one I'll leave in, that answer for Wally.
Okay.
I will tell you this, because I don't use the chemicals that he uses predominantly out there. I did get the rate increase sheet for this year going forward, or I should say from October 1 forward, of the chlorine costs going up, and it just looked like it went up another 15 cents a gallon.
Okay.
Troy knows all about that.
It's very simple really to make, it's just the equipment involved to make chlorine is pretty costly.
It's been scarce this summer.
Yeah.
When you can find it, you buy it all.
I liked making hydrogen cells. So you're making a rectifier, or you're taking a rectifier, in this case it would use a battery charger as your rectifier. And all you're doing is if you add salt to your water with the electrodes to strip off the hydrogen molecule off the water, you created hydrogen gas. A little fun to work with. Very dangerous, I would say that. But in the process, you make chlorine. Very weak solution of chlorine. So
Troy's going to buy a battery charger and some water and salt.
well, it's just before you get all crazy in that, dude. So to make a real good chlorine solution, you know, when you look at a hydrogen cell, it's the components that's in there that doesn't get eat up, so you don't have harm caused to yourself from making homemade chlorine bleach. And so some of that material may be very hard to come by unless you buy the rectifier that can make it for you.
I'm not interested in making chlorine.
And the most that you can
Don't
make
you
is
have a
about
lot of spare
1%.
time?
Yeah, I have so much spare time.
JD, thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it, you
No,
guys,
there's no further questions, all right.
what you guys are doing over there. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Those were very nice reports
Yes.
for water and wastewater.
Yes, they were.
I mean, not that yours wasn't great, but it's still, you know, yours always has enthusiasm and is very long, and normally we get, it's good.
And drawn out, and
So-
long, and drawn out.
We'll get a very short one next month, how's that?
No, it's fine, just.
Things are good. Next.
Normally we don't get an expansion of what water
I
and
get it,
wastewater.
I know what you're saying, you don't have to.
Question? The standard terms and conditions regarding this, the computer stuff, do you want me to comment on it or not?
Well, yes, but I mean, we only have one proposal, it's gonna have to go out for RFP before we see anything.
All right.
Really.
All right, so just stand down on it for now. All right, there you go.
Okay.
All right, item 11, items unfinished from previous meeting. What we got, Neil?
I got nothing.
Actually, this is where we could throw in,
We've gotta go through review, I mean, we're pushing 9:40,
Right.
so, yeah.
And I got an hour and a half drive ahead.
There's nothing that's jumping out that has to be done right now.
there is one thing, that this is where we could add in what directors are going to wear, because that was brought up at a previous board meeting. So this is an item that we would be following up on, unless you wanna just wait and do it on other business.
Well, we can do it now, it doesn't matter, I mean, it's pretty simple, I would put myself down for, the admin office and, wastewater.
I would say Park and Rec, since Jed loves to mess with me so much, and water.
Somebody writing these
Can
down.
I just do park and rec?
No, you're admin.
Oh,
You have to be, unfortunately,
I know.
treasurer.
So it's 2 for each enterprise plus for administration or comptroller?
I think we're gonna put 2 over the comptroller, the admin office up there, only because that's we do have several employees in there.
So since there are 5 of you, you have 8 slots, so 3 of you have to take 2 and 2 of you take 1.
I'll
Oh,
do-
2 of us take one? I just
You're-
want one.
Then you can have admin.
No, park and rec and admin is fine.
I'll do water and wastewater. Is that right? I don't want anything to do with
Dan's
Jed.
taking notes.
I don't want anything to do with Jed.
We're gonna build a golf course.
Assign me
Somewhere
to
else.
Jed. I'm his
Neil?
ghost.
What were you taking Park and Rec also, Stacy?
Yeah. Don't make me regret it. I'm
We're gonna need to
Just
sit,
keep asking
and we
for
need to
things.
fit Sherry in there. What do we have left?
Sherry. So we've got 2 for admin,
Mm-hmm.
we have 2 for wastewater, we have 2 for water,
2 for park and rec.
and we have 2 for Park and Rec.
John, what are your two?
I am Park and Rec and Water.
And-
Because you have 5 people, that's.
And IT doesn't count in this. I know there's an IT committee, but that's irrelevant.
This
The
is not
committees are
committees.
different, this is gonna be supervision over those
Got it.
enterprises.
I have a suggestion
What's
related
the
to
deal?
that, and that is there's a provision in the bylaws that says that this board cannot essentially deal with
We are
staff.
not going to interfere with day-to-day operations, and we will
So
only be
you-
working with the director. We will not be working
All
with
right,
the.
so you're okay with that bylaw provision?
Yeah.
Okay.
It works under what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're not gonna,
Just so it's clear that there's no director of administration.
There's a
We,
comptroller.
we will take care of that in a minute.
Yeah.
So since all of you took 2, there's 0 left for Sherry.
we have to divvy it up, so,
I can just do admin, and she can have Park and Rec.
Okay.
let's do that.
I mean, I take Park and Rec, but I don't know that she wants admin.
Well, and,
So, and I'm already there, so.
yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. Settled.
Stacy, taking one for the team.
Can you send that out to us tomorrow? I
Yeah.
wrote it down, but
Alright,
I
so
won't be here.
that was under item 11, we're done with item, yes, you had a question?
Sorry, real, I know we all wanna go home, blah, blah, blah. For clarity on our end, I know I email you right now for like minute things and some, like walkie-talkies that cost $215. Starting when do we contact those 2 people for those 2 things?
They're gonna be your supervision, but
Okay.
for the provision of signing invoices,
Okay, you still want it?
it's still gonna have to come to the president or vice
Okay,
president
I
for
was just getting
signature
clarity,
on those. Now, we do have a clause in the bylaws that allow all directors to sign on behalf of the district.
Okay. I guess my question is, when it comes to those types of things, do you still wanna, those minor things, and I call them minor, smaller things, $500-600 less, do you still guys want the emails asking, I guess asking permission?
This is one of those things where we wanted to set up that petty cash
Right.
fund in each enterprise to where you guys could make those smaller purchases out of that petty cash fund.
So
That's
just
something,
hold
I
that
don't know
thought.
where we're at with that.
I'm just asking, I know you guys are, and I'm not, I don't care, it doesn't
And I wanna make,
affect me,
I
I'm just, I know
personally
you guys
wanna
are busy.
leave, even though the statute, we can always be more in the, as far as the district bylaws, I wanna leave the clause in the bylaws that every board director can sign on behalf of the district.
Okay.
It's the whole intent of having everybody on the signature cards at the bank,
Mhm.
things of that nature. But as far as, contracts for the district is the piece that goes under the state statute. But,
And I totally get when we're talking
but
larger.
small items like walkie-talkies.
That's what I'm asking, I'm just
radios
asking,
and
I get
stuff
the
like
large
that.
ones, I would never do it, I mean, you guys know that, we're gonna send them to you, and that's that. I can't think, there was something like, give or take $600 or $700 recently, and I was asking, and you just said, yeah, well, as long as it's in the budget, and obviously I wouldn't have asked if it wasn't. I can't remember what the heck it was.
You sent me 2 items,
Okay,
both of them I replied and said,
Oh, yeah,
is it within your
Yep.
budget confines? And you're out, and you said yes, and
Yeah.
I said,
go
okay.
for it, yeah. I just wanna make sure that's still the protocol. I don't wanna inundate you.
And you
I
can
know you
send
guys
it
are
to-
busy, that's all.
You can
We,
s-
we made a change to the bylaws last meeting regarding all of this.
Yes,
And that change was made prior to the 2 people leaving that we had. So now we have to look at how are we gonna set up the bylaws under 3 directors and admin.
I think the
Because-
bylaws are fine the way they are. If you just change the word from admin to comptroller, that's all you need to do.
We're talking about the money piece and how much money each director can spend.
Oh, petty cash?
well, the 60 grand only applies to
Contracts.
contracts.
But we had changed the wording in that.
You had deleted it.
We deleted deleted that and set up a
And
$5,000
just set up-
petty cash.
Yes,
The
right.
problem, I think, when some of us went into the office, I think the problem we had was, does that mean that the admins need to go to the bank, pull $5,000 out, put it in the safe that's in main office?
No,
No, because we don't want unwanted visitors like gas stations get overnight. So they have a couple, whatever they keep, and then they use receipts, they tally it up, that kind of thing. Is that what you guys are asking?
I'll give you an example. Before the date was out today, maintenance asked, we need 4 new chemical containers. The ones we have are shot. We need 4. I don't know anything about it. James was giving me all the information. It's $800 and something. Now technically, previous to all this stuff and the changes, and you know, I would say to Jerry, hey, is it okay? And he would say, yeah, as long as James needs it. And then we'd go purchase it with a credit card, and then when
That you'd have to go to the office and ask for.
Yes, and then give the invoice and the receipt to that office, and then they would document which, obviously that comes out of repairs and maintenance, or chemicals, and that's how it was. So the petty cash thing, I wasn't here for that conversation, but it wouldn't really come out of petty cash.
Okay.
It would, that type of thing would come out of chemicals, it's for chemicals, so.
So
Does
would
that make
be
sense? I'm
something-
just trying to get us.
I think it makes sense,
This is the
but,
charge card.
what's that?
This is the charge card thing.
So we're gonna work on the charge card thing for the
Yeah.
enterprises.
And I know it's late, and.
No, that's fine,
Yeah.
but we'll be here as long as we need to make sure we get business done. But it's, as long as your email, message a board member,
That's fine.
and
You
then,
guys know
and then we'll,
who I am.
we'll sign off on it,
Yep.
but keep track of that. So there is a, part in there where it says, things can be ratified at the next meeting, if you need to
Okay.
purchase that right now.
Okay.
Like just a rundown of the expenses for the month, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really what we need to go to is what were, the enterprise expenses for the month, which we go through in the financials.
Yeah.
But little items like that, I mean, yeah, they add up. I mean, as long as we're not seeing like Costco receipts for your personal dog food and stuff.
I don't have a dog, but I get what you're saying, yes. And obviously I have a year and a half of, you guys know I'm not
I mean,
going
we
to
look at,
spend
we look at
nonsense.
the invoices, we look at the receipts, we look at all that stuff when we come in to sign checks
Yeah.
and sign those things.
Yeah,
But things like, equipment and stuff like that, just send something to, like you've been doing right
that's
now,
fine, fair
to a
enough.
board member for,
Yeah,
cause it's always gonna be my response when you send me something
Is it within your
Is it-
budget?
right,
with
and I would
your
never
budget.
send it if it wasn't.
Right.
I think you,
and I
That's on
understand
my
that,
end.
but what that does is it keeps a
There's a
email trail, a
documentation. Absolutely. I
documented
get it.
trail
absolutely. Fair enough.
that we can
Figured
track.
I would just ask.
Perfect.
I have a question.
Yes.
Your comment about the $5,000 petty cash,
Yeah.
is it 5,000 per enterprise?
So we chatted about, is it 5,000 that's kept at all times? Or is it,
Is it 5 times 3?
yeah, so we quickly came to the realization right after the board meeting that maybe we weren't specific enough. Because I think when we all went into the admin office, we all maybe didn't know exactly what we had made it less specific, but not specific enough, so we did.
They have access to $5,000 of petty cash through the bank.
So.
They hold, and I'll answer your question in a second. They hold $500 in petty cash in the admin office. And when that $500 decreases so far, then they go back to the bank and withdraw to replenish that. But to answer your question, we did not say that it was $5,000 per enterprise for petty cash at the last meeting. We just said $5,000 in admin for petty cash.
Total.
So for the district,
The
5,000
main
in petty
reason why
cash.
that was said is because prior business admin control all of the cash.
Yes.
Requiring all the enterprises to actually come in and approve credit cards.
So what I'm trying to get to is, can Jed anticipate that he's got a $5,000 petty cash fund that he can tap into if he's gotta go buy a $600 part?
No, because Jed does not have the ability to go to the bank and take out $5,000. He doesn't have access to the
How
money.
does the enterprise, each enterprise person, back to my, is it 5,000 per? Or could one enterprise use up the 5,000 so there's no other money for the other, for another enterprise?
We did not set it up that way at the last meeting.
First of all, we have to set up the banking for the enterprises for the purchase cards, because we don't,
And then they won't need a petty cash.
then they won't need the
Right.
petty cash.
All right, you guys are, I don't mean to push this, you guys are comfortable where you are.
We're comfortable where we are right now. I'll be at the bank tomorrow,
Sorry, I
seeing
kinda
what we
opened
need
this
to
can of
do
worms. It was just-
to set up purchase cards for each enterprise. But the thing is once the comptroller's in place,
Yeah.
you guys are gonna have to keep them updated, because they're going to be the focal point of all the finances for the district.
Totally get that.
The comptroller will actually be balancing your receipts, so your
Yes.
portion of it will actually be holding your receipts and getting that back to the comptroller in the main office.
We get
What
that.
you won't have to do in the future is chase down a credit card to go make a purchase based on your business. So that's gonna alleviate any type of delay in getting business done, which has been the biggest hurdle.
Okay, cool. That's clarity.
It's trying to take away that
That's
bottleneck.
clarity, absolutely. Thank you.
I don't think we have any public comment today.
I've got another subject.
Oh, for this item, for item 11, or,
No, item, other business.
okay, we'll get there. Item 11, we're done. Item 12, board follow-up on older items.
You did that.
Yeah,
We did that.
Yep.
Item 13, is there anybody that has public comment? Anybody?
We ran more.
Item 14, other business.
John and I have been talking about this. I'm asking, who is the person at the office that can track down, or do we have to wait for the controller, can track down whether these inclusion monies have ever come in?
Currently, we do not have anybody at the office that can do that.
All right, so I'll just have to sit on it until we get somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
except
what we can do is
It's, well, we could ask David
David's there on Friday.
on Monday. He'll be there this Monday. So we could send that question to Sydney and say, can you?
Neil, can you send that off to Sydney and David and see if they can track down? I know the 1.3's been paid. I know I got an email from Chief Harwig, they were overbilled over there.
For their tax?
Mhm.
Yeah, they should have paid half.
I
Yeah,
thought
they-
they came in, I thought we took care of that.
I haven't seen anything that we took care of it. I have an email from him saying that they were overbilled.
No, I thought we were, cut them a check.
Yeah, I think we were all
Okay,
Oh.
specifically, what are we looking for?
Okay.
We need, hang on, cause I've got you on speaker on my phone, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was half.
Yeah, and I thought we took care of that, and I thought I was one of the
Should've.
signers on the check. We gave him a $7,000 refund.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, are you gonna talk to whatever this accountant, the 1 day a week guy?
I will not, because I will be out of town from Friday until,
So I'm shooting him an email
Thursday
right
morning.
now, Ted.
All right, what I'm after is, have we received the money
Hey, it
for
was-
the inclusion agreements?
If we've received all the money for the inclusion agreements on file right now on that list.
So quiet, we can hear someone running on a trip now.
And
It's because our brains
Here's the
are
list.
slowing way down.
Neil should have a copy of that, right? Didn't you email that out? Or no, Brian emailed that out, I think.
Brian emailed it out, yeah, Dan has it.
Yeah, I
We
think
were
I.
gonna put it on the screen, which I didn't agree with, so
And
you have a hard
Neil,
copy?
I just sent you
You need
the
it?
I have a digital
email from
Okay.
Chief Harwig to so that you can get that question added in there with, David as well. So they were charged over there at the fire station for, the rec center, parks, streetlights and all that stuff.
Oh, okay,
Oh, that's not the tap fee that I thought we were talking about.
yeah.
And they had a second meter for irrigation. There was supposed to be a base rate fee, and because it's only gonna be used for this initial startup and then it's being shut off. But they were overcharged, I think, for it.
Okay. So let me see here, hold on. And I'm just gonna CC you on this as well.
I just wanted to make sure that we got him some kind of resolution.
Yeah, that should go to Kaylee and David.
Just request.
I'm too tired to pursue anymore.
I have one more thing and then I'm done.
So do I actually.
No, you don't.
I do. It's a good thing.
You're taking us all out for a beer after this, or?
Well, by the way, that's a really important conversation we were having over here.
You would, except you just
Going
have a charge
forward,
card.
Like Italian meals for all of us for nights like this, and chicken
Yeah,
parm,
yeah.
pasta. Yes, John?
That would be excellent, cause I still have to
See,
go home and
okay,
eat
I
dinner.
got one vote. Ted, you win? 3, we're done, we're good.
I don't have a vote.
So, are we done with
Today-
that part, Troy? Can I go on with
Problem
my last
is,
thing?
I gotta go home.
Yeah, I think we're done with that.
Okay,
And she's texting me and is like, are you?
I would like to make a proposal that we change the bylaws, specifically paragraph 3.6.13 under management, that in that paragraph, everywhere where it states administration director, be changed to administration comptroller.
Let me put on my amateur lawyer hat for a second. Ted, tell me if I'm right. Does a change to the bylaws have to be noticed in advance?
No, there's an unusual provision, it's just based on a vote of the
Majority vote of the board.
board. Yeah.
I'll second it.
Because by the state statute, bylaws aren't even required in a district.
Are you taking notes on all this?
You have a recording? I'll do
Oh,
the
okay.
minutes.
3.6.13 management.
So we got a motion to change the admin director wording to admin comptroller. Is that what you're wanting in there?
Yes.
Administration comptroller. Got a second by Stacy. Any other discussion on it? Okay, all in favor of approving the change?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we'll have to discuss where we're gonna have the next meeting and the date for that based on the, how the when the budget's ready for review and hearing. Any other business?
One question on that point. Neil, are we gonna change the language in the job posting on ZipRecruiter and the website from Director of Admin to Comptroller, or just go with what we have?
Just take the site location for you and just change the job title from Director of Admin to Comptroller. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Troy, could you email me the name of and the phone number of this person, this accountant who works on Fridays?
Oh, have Neil email it to you.
Okay.
He has more contact with him.
Could you, Neil,
What do you need, sir?
the name and phone number of the accountant who's coming in one day a week,
Dave?
No.
please? So I can harass him with what I'm trying to find out.
Great, I'm sure he'll
Hey, that'd be
appreciate
like $600 an hour there.
that. Okay, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I motion we adjourn.
All right, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. motion carries, we're adjourned. And it's, looks like 9:51.
You're going I-25 home, right?